Yeah, yeah. So I'm going to handle it through Facebook, through my Facebook, and sell to people I know. I've actually sold like 3 things locally. I've had the same people. Go ahead, sorry. We're doing low side of eBay. But you did take some of the stuff that I had that should be able to sell, like that BotCon set. Should be able to sell. I'm not saying miscellaneous crap. It'll have to go in lots. Most of the stuff I have left will go in lots. I sold something to Vice Grip X, Ben Yee, and a couple of local friends here. And the local friend said if I have anything else, let him know. So I'm going to do that. Retro Reboot. I'll ask. I mean, I'll ask. I love Skype. It's already telling me there's a problem with the call. You've had a lot of stuff going on. Well, my goal going forward is to do that as much as possible. Okay, Chris, your video, Skype farted and your video went away. Oh, guess what I got? I haven't got motor. My Motor Master is sitting in my pile of loot with my Genesis, Megatron, and a couple other things. I got code from John. Thanks, John. He's okay. No. No, I wasn't. That sucks. The payroll. I bet they're in the box. I threw away the packing stuff. I haven't. The box is over there. I was going to reuse it because it's a good box. Found them. Okay, so So hey, well, say something now. Okay, I'm not surprised by that. Because darn Skype. Yes.
XSplit, how can there not be any Skype audio because of a Skype update?
No, it's probably, I don't know, but it should be working now. People watching live, can you hear me? Can you hear them now?
Can you hear me?
I just changed the audio settings in XSplit, so it fixed. I had an XSplit update too.
Oh boy.
Oh.
Okay, but it's kicking up now. The audio wasn't kicking up before. Thank you, people.
So anyway, Don, $20 for things that then gets you.
And what, 5 shipping? Yeah.
Well, whatever it costs to ship, yeah.
Yeah. That'd be fine. Just send it.
Well, just we can work on the PayPal details after we're off stream.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I forgot we were streaming. Sorry.
What's your PayPal password, Don?
You want my social security number too? I mean, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, Diecast, you have no reason to worry about any of that because it's already all out there.
Yes.
I guess this makes my box set decision for BotCon really easy. No box set, please.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hey, at least you didn't find out before your trip to Toy Fair.
Yeah.
BotCon isn't doing registration, right?
Not yet.
Okay,
Not
good.
yet. It's not a month before the convention
Yeah, it's
yet.
not May yet, so.
Toy Fair, the most expensive thing is the room and the food. Other than that,
I would think the travel would kind of add into that too.
Yeah.
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 Well, how much did eating cost you while you were out there?
Yeah, probably like $20 a night, roughly, give or take.
What were you eating?
Pizza, a burger.
Did you have one pizza and you just ate on it for the entire time? Sorry, Don.
Yes. I know, but hey, I'm still kicking. There's nothing wrong with that pizza 2 days later.
Yes, there is.
So we went out
Hey.
to a pizza place across the street, so it was, by the slice.
Hmm.
Well, I think if that McDonald's had been a little bit closer, people could have ate a lot better. Well, not better, but cheaper anyway. That McDonald's was a good 15-minute walk.
It wasn't that bad.
I mean, it wasn't that bad.
It was 15. You're right. It was about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But you know what? Biscuits. They had biscuits.
Yeah. But at least it wasn't like Durham, and that's all we had was that one McDonald's.
I thought there was an Arby's.
Not within walking distance of the convention. Literally, where the convention was for Durham, the only thing within easy walking distance was that one McDonald's. And someone told me they had like a 5,000% sales increase that weekend over the previous year.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised.
No, that's great.
Yeah, it's I'm registered for Bach. Well, I'm not registered. But I paid for the room like everybody else, and I'm still debating whether to try to fill the table. I probably won't do a table this year. It's just
Why would you do a table? That sounds like a nightmare.
At BotCon?
Because he's got a lot of stuff he wants to
He
sell.
has an epic collection.
Doc. Yeah, what you've seen in the
And he
corner-
also has, he's got his stuff. Well, we can't see now, Don, but we know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Don's got all his stuff he wants to sell. There's all of JD's stuff that needs to be sold if it doesn't get done beforehand.
I have a pretty
Like,
large...
a lot of the stuff I understand is left from JD stuff is stuff that would only sell, at a table out of a bin, that kind of thing.
Doc has, trust me, Brian's seen my collection.
We were making fun. You watched that part when I was making fun of how you have this like all these holy
Yeah.
grails sitting like just laying there. I'm like,
Well, it's just
this is the greatest thing ever.
I need to pull it together to where it looks like you seen Weird Wolf's DTOFs behind him when he has the show.
Yeah, that's cool.
I need something like that, but I need to parse this thing down to something even remotely resembling
All right.
manageable.
See that? That's just
Oh. Hey, what is that?
Ooh.
what's that?
It's like Where's Waldo?
Oh no, never mind. It was just a stack of boxes that had a vaguely like robot shape.
Yeah, I have a
It
stack.
looked like some tall blue and black robot, and you know.
You have to
it
spend a lot of
does.
money in toys, diecast.
Yeah. See what Diecast has been buying since for the last several years. I've got the leg up on him for having been buying for 3 times as long.
Oh my gosh.
More
You've
than
been
3 times
buying
long,
since before
probably.
Diecast was born.
Yeah,
Yeah, honestly, that's probably not far from the
It's
truth.
not.
It's not far from the truth.
Actually, you probably have
It
been.
is the truth.
Diecast, you're what,
Diecast-
33?
Yeah, I'll be 33 this year.
Sorry, 32. Don, you've been Don's been buying and collecting longer than you've been alive.
Yeah, I literally started in '84 when Mom got me Sludge at Superflea in Winston-Salem. You probably remember, Brian, back when Superflea was actually something.
Not really.
He's not that old.
It's like
I mean,
well,
I have a
well,
lot of stuff. I have a lot of stuff that you wouldn't expect. Like I have some Energon. I have Cybertron stuff. I have, it's not like I just
You want some
started.
more?
Like
We got plenty of JD stuff left.
God,
Sorry, that was awful.
man, too soon.
I know.
Yeah,
No, it's
move
just
it however you
Yeah.
can,
we
though.
need-
can you beat
Get it back.
having Captain Liberty from the Tick live action series? No, you cannot.
no, no.
Oh,
I
no?
can't.
Oh no!
It's better than life.
Oh, you've got the Dex figure. Excellent.
I have the Dex figure.
Now that was that the one that was short packed? Because
I don't remember. I bought it years after the fact.
Okay, yeah, because I remember.
Don, when I was at the age to buy that, I didn't know what short pack meant.
I'm just trying to see. I didn't pay attention.
Actually, I kind of did because I remember the Star Trek: The Next Generation line was out, and there was a couple of figures in that were really hard to find
Data
from the first
Tasha.
assortment.
Yeah, Data.
Tasha wasn't even in the first assortment, but
Right.
Data was a little hard to find. Troy was hard to find.
Well, Data had the problem with the multiple skin tone problems. So finding a Data, you might get a blue Data, you might get a pink Data.
Was that in the Playmates line or the Galoob line, Don?
That was the Galoob line.
Yeah, I had the Playmates figures.
Okay, yeah.
I was a little bit later on that.
Yeah.
I didn't discover Star Trek until like 1992.
Yeah, but the Playmates were some really good figures, and they had some.
Oh,
good
they
ships
were.
too. And the ships were pretty good too.
The Playmates figures were like, you would never know to look at them today that was made by Playmates
Exactly.
because there's too many joints.
Yeah, exactly. But the one thing I wish Diamond Select would do, because when I was reading over the Diamond Select list, I want an Enterprise C. That's the one ship we have not gotten in any fashion. I know it's just from that one.
I saw you
episode.
tweet about that.
Yeah,
I
That's
facepalmed.
because the Romulans blew it up, Don.
I know, but I'm just saying, for me, it's a perfect balance between classic Star
Somebody
Trek designs.
somewhere must have made something Enterprise C.
There was a model kit. There was a Reveal
Okay.
or
Ertl?
Ertl. It might have been an Ertl model kit. I've never seen
I
it.
think
I just
Ertl and AMT did the Star Trek model kit at that point in time.
yeah.
Because I had the Enterprise kit that had the saucer separation gimmick. Like I got that kit just because it did that, and the toy did.
All I've got left.
I was a weird
is-
kid.
I've got an Enterprise B from the Playmates line. I've got the transforming version from All Good Things, which is a really nice piece. I had DS9 and sold it. I had the Runabout and sold it.
Did you have a Defiant?
Yeah, I had a Defiant. I sold it to my friend Fred. Because at the time I was moving, and he always wanted the Defiant and never could get one. And I sold it to him cheap, just as a
Everybody wants a Defiant.
yeah.
Okay. So you talking Star Trek? I just walked
Yeah.
away. Okay.
Yeah, the shit. Yeah.
How we're talking about the plate toy line.
So I'm not
Yeah.
exactly certain which line these are from, but these are what I've got. My friend Dusty gave them to me.
Do the engines come off the Enterprise?
Yes.
That's the Playmates one.
Yeah.
I've got that. And this.
And it has buttons up the spine
Yeah.
on the.
Oh yeah. The
That's
Clay-
also the Playmates one. I have that. I got
Yeah.
the Enterprise and the Klingon ship.
And
Oh, the Romulan.
I
Oh,
never got one of those, but I
I wish
remember
I
that.
never got that Romulan ship. That's so
my
beautiful.
friend Dusty just gave them to me. I came to.
Cool.
Yeah, he just had them at work one day. He's like, "Hey, you want these?" Yeah.
I was just
Hey,
saying, Brian,
Shelby, if somebody just like drops a medical tricorder on you, I'd be interested in taking that up. Yeah.
Well, if Dusty gives it to me, I'm keeping it because I love Dusty. He's my hero.
But yeah, I never bought that either, Chris. I wanted to, but I kept waiting for the price to drop, and by the time all the stuff dropped, it was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And I was not paying $50 for a medical truck.
I have it, and if I ever master the art of getting tobacco smell out of my toys, I will see what I can do.
Yeah. I've got the next generation base tricorder. I've got that I could.
I don't want that. I don't want a microplate. I want the electronic
No,
thing
no,
that
no,
makes noise.
No.
Oh no, there's an electronic standard tricorder too. I have one of those too.
Yeah.
I have the standard. I have the standard
Yeah.
tricorder.
Oh, okay.
But I think the microplate actually is specifically the medical tricorder.
But
You may be right.
I've got both versions of the phaser, both type 1. Well, it's type 2 that doesn't come apart, and the type 2 that does come apart.
Oh, you mean the original series version?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
But I
want
got-
the one that comes apart.
Yeah, I got a few next generation phasers, including one right at hand because that's what I do.
Oh, the nice first contact type one. That
Yeah, I need to
always
clean this
wanted
thing.
one of those.
Someone
I always like that,
someone
like,
asked me if now this was a long time ago.
Actually,
if I
this
could
might be
find-
the insurrection version, even.
Maybe right. Either way, it's that second mold that's more streamlined.
Yeah.
Holy crap!
Holy crap! What?
It's Ben Yee.
It is Ben Yee.
Yes.
Hey Ben,
What's up, gentlemen?
how's it
Oh
going?
my gosh.
Hello.
We have royalty in the house.
Don is awestruck.
Don's
Oh, I've known Ben for years. I've known him longer than he.
Yeah, so I don't know why he's acted up.
Yeah, I've known Ben longer than he's wanted to know me.
Well, that's true of most people, Don.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on, Ben. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on.
Anthony's not going to be here, so it's just us. So, in respect to Ben's time this week, when we start, let's try to keep it to an hour. If we can. I know Toy Fair is pretty awesome.
But we don't have Rob Springer here, so we got a better chance.
That's true.
I mean, I love Rob Springer, but it's hard to keep the show short with him on.
So Ben, we keep show notes, but you probably don't need it because I'll just run us through the show and then you can react to whatever.
I'll follow your lead.
Yeah. So you said you've watched before. Okay, so by that I'll take no. So what we have is we have a format that we follow each week. I intro, then we have a segment which is This Week in History.
Oh, you asked if I watched
Yeah,
before. I
yeah.
totally didn't understand the words that came out of your
Sorry,
mouth.
yes.
He thought you were asking if he washed before the
Did
show.
you watch before the show?
It sounded kind of like that. And I was like, why would he need to know
Yeah,
that?
sorry. I tend to talk too fast sometimes. So
We're a very hygienic podcast, Ben.
I actually take a shower during the show. We take a little break in the middle. But so we have a format where I do an intro, we have that segment, then we basically just bust into the news, and that's all we're going to talk this week is news stuff. So pretty much everything is Toy Fair. I think I might have one item to hit on right after that, which should take like a minute. But literally, Toy Fair is going to be the 99% of what we talk about today.
That makes sense.
Because Toy Fair happened. I don't know if you knew that. I know you just appeared in New York for a while, but it could be anything. So how are you doing, Ben?
Tired. Toy Fair is a fun thing, but it's also a traumatic thing. It's just 48 straight hours of work. You guys probably saw I just finished transcribing the interview I did with Jerry Javon, and transcribing is not fun.
No.
And there is no reliable software out there to do it.
No, but you know what you can do? You can pay somebody in India $15 to do it.
Yeah, I thought about that. I have trust issues.
There's a website that my friend uses. I think it's called Your Man in India.
Mm-hmm.
And they're really great. They'll do whatever for you, and they're cheap.
May consider that for next year.
Like I'm trying to figure out ways to better utilize my time in things where I don't need to actually do like the tactical work. I'm probably going to start outsourcing it more like that. Yeah, my friend Dan uses Your Man in India, and he really likes it.
Okay, I'll look into it. Thank you.
So,
Our podcast has grown as an organization so much that we have to start outsourcing now. It's
I
amazing.
outsource a lot of stuff. Like any kind of video work that is like pre-rendered or whatever, I outsource that. I just pay somebody to do it.
And washing.
Yes, and washing. I actually pay someone to come in and like wash me during the show, outside of the frame of the camera, of course.
well, hey, man, considering I've never been to Toy Fair, I've not been to San Diego. What is your advice if I wanted to go to a convention, or if I could go to Toy Fair? Which one should I do?
Which convention? That matters.
Okay, well, I go to BotCon, obviously. I'm thinking one year at least trying San Diego.
I would do San Diego, and keep in mind, Toy Fair is an invite-only event. So
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying
If you want to get into Toy Fair next year, Don, we can get you in.
I'm just saying if I could go to either one, I'm just want to get your opinion on it.
Diecast would just have to agree to room with you. I don't know that we can get that.
Oh, and I just got the image of Don following Diecast around as his assistant.
I'm so glad Ben actually said like it's it's an exhausting 48 hours or 72 hours because that's the exact same way I felt. Because the whole time you're not really thinking like, oh, let me look at this. It might be nice. It's like, I have to get video. I have to get photos. I have to get interviews. I have to,
One is work, one is fun.
I didn't do the interview this year because there was one person interviewing him that had a camera and his assistant. And this was a little tiny area, and they were right in front of Devastator, taking up the whole area, and I kind of got frustrated, and I left, and I took photos and videos of other stuff, and by the time I came back, some of the people that I was with was like, we want to go, so I didn't hang around as long as I did last year when it kind of like thinned out. So I'm assuming that's when you probably got your interview with him was after.
Correct. If you look at the interview portion I posted today, you'll actually see in the notes that I was being shooed out because the people wanted to go home. Part of what's interesting is I looked at a couple of online threads at sites that I won't mention the names of, but there was a lot of complaining about why didn't Ben ask this? Why didn't he follow up with that? I had 15 minutes to get 10 questions out, essentially.
Yeah.
Well, 9.5.
You did really good, Ben. You did really good. I enjoyed reading that interview quite a lot.
Yeah, but it's rough, and you have to be, and you know this, man. You have to stay focused the entire time. You're tired. You've been standing for about 2-3 hours straight, and you're running around. And guys, you guys know what the BotCon dealer's room or any dealer's room at a convention is like, right? Now imagine you shrunk that. Like, I don't know, take the New York Comic Con dealer's room and shrink it to 1/8 of what it normally is, and then jam about 60 people into the same area.
I'm sure it still smells better, though.
It got a little ripe.
Really?
But my friend and I, you know this, they divided the room into a RID section with the Creos and so on, and then the other side was Generations this year. My friend and I, who were doing the BWTF coverage, we deliberately went to the RID side first because the Generation side was just mobbed. Yep. And why no one checks their backpacks in, I don't understand. So not only are you fighting people, but you're fighting not small people with very large backpacks on. And guys, I mean, the physicality of it alone is exhausting. Never mind the mental part of it.
All right, Diecast. I think we need to find somebody else to be your pack mule next year.
No. You'll be fine, Melvar. You're small.
No, I don't think. I don't think you understand.
Here's the thing, Ben. You remember probably what I was like early on to a degree. before I became a seasoned veteran. I was a little hyper, a little high strung.
I cannot imagine you high strung, absolutely, but not hyper.
So I probably would not be a good thing for Toy Fair.
The one thing that really bothered me at Toy Fair, and I want to say first that I'm not complaining like it's a horrible event and I would never want to go. We're very privileged to be invited to the event. So on that, we really don't have a right to complain about anything. But one of the things that kind of bothered me was we were the last group to go down this year. Because it was in the front, it makes sense. But by the time we got down there, I was in the very front of the line going down there, and the section was already mobbed from the other people. So the people that were there specifically for Transformers couldn't even get into that section right away when we were waiting 45 minutes, roughly half hour, 45 minutes to go down to the section. That kind of bothered me. And I don't know if there was security there last year, but this year it was really prevalent. I mean, a lot of the area that you had room to move around. The security guards were standing there, and they wouldn't let you back there. So it was kind of hard to navigate that way because there was so little space for the people that were actually there to cover the event.
Yeah,
Although from some of the stories I've heard, it sounds like it is good there was extra security this year.
Oh yeah. Actually, guys, last year there was a fair bit. I mean, I don't cause problems with this thing. I just, I go to do my thing. But last year, I forget what figure I was taking a picture of. It was something from AOE, and I just kind of leaned in a bit, and this guard was like all over me. I didn't even know where he came from. He just kind of swooped in. That was last year, and we were in a much more condensed area last year. So, I mean, guys, you think this year was small? Imagine like half of what we had this year. That's what last year was like. And
see, last year I didn't think it was that bad.
Well, we were in that little cubby hole as soon as you go down the stairs, which is not ideal because there's no flow, right? There's nowhere for people to go out of. You either are in that section or you're not. Whereas with the Transformer section, it flowed into Star Wars and all the other sections. But there were more guards this year, and from stuff I saw first person, I'm glad there were. I won't name names, but I saw people reaching for figures and being stopped. You should know better than to even reach, honestly.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You should ask. There are demonstrators, there are guards who will do it for you. The brand team is there, they will do it for you. You should never reach for anything. I don't care if it's in a box, if it's a final piece, if it's a prototype, you don't touch. I saw one guy, you remember the table where the Viper figure was?
Yes.
So he wanted to get a better picture of it. He didn't even hesitate. He didn't even look behind him to see if he was going to get caught. He just reached right over, grabbed the thing, and put it in front of him. And he got pushed away from the section. They didn't kick him out, but he got shooed away for a little bit. I mean, guys, we're supposed to be better than that, right? As a media,
some things.
Yeah, I think most of the people there were pretty respectable and pretty calm. But even in the media, there's always the exception to the rule. So,
well, it only takes that one guy, right, to screw it up for the rest of us.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I have a question. I heard Devastator got knocked over at some point. Did either of you see that?
I heard the crash and then turned around and saw them picking it back up. I don't know how it fell over. But yeah, it did fall, but it didn't break, which was probably good.
That was
I
me.
would think that's good.
I hugged it, and then it just fell. And I thought it was going to hug me back.
Probably what happened was there's a little Hercules sneaking around the corner out the door after it fell.
He's stealing my job.
Yeah. Okay, a couple more minutes.
But I was surprised this year we actually got like a swag bag. Like last year, all we got was that Guardians of the Galaxy little, poster. So I was expecting like nothing this year, and then we got a huge bag of stuff, which was pretty awesome for Hasbro to do.
Anthony wanted to know what you got in there. He sent me an email to ask. Oh, he got Combiner War Silverbolt, Robots in Disguise Bumblebee. Marvel Legends Iron Fist, and the TIE Fighter pilot.
Okay. I got Yoda, Silverbolt, the one of the girls from the Marvel Legends wave, and then I got the blue truck for RID. I can't
Strong
think
Arm?
of his. Yeah,
Oh,
Strong Arm.
Steeljaw.
Steeljaw.
Strong Arm or Steel-
Steeljaw, even better.
Steeljaw. Which I had that whole wave anyway. I had the Combiner Wars wave anyway.
Right.
Oh, is
so-
this the warrior class?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
That's
But it was a pretty decent, swag bag, even though I
That's
had
a really
some of the
good.
stuff.
That's a really good bag of stuff.
Yeah.
that strong arm is just begging for a small foot repaint. I'm sorry, it's begging for a small foot repaint.
I
I
really
kind of want to get the Takara Strong Arm because it has a lot nicer deco, like more complete deco.
I'm really loving the Legion class stuff. This go around, they're pretty solid.
Ben, did you even notice that Creo was special to the event? I had no idea. I was just like,
You
oh,
didn't
it's a
know?
Creo and they're all the same. And I looked in and I was like, they had 2 glass, jars full of them. One upstairs and one downstairs. And I grabbed
So was
one
it a thing?
upstairs.
Was it a thing like if you could guess how many Creos were in the jar, you would win something?
No, I mean, it had a good number. I mean, I would say there was probably easily 500 in there.
But you got one, right?
Yeah, I got one.
Okay.
Then someone told me that they were popping up on eBay for like $30 or $40
Oh, really?
because
You kidding me?
Toy Fair Creos that weren't available anywhere else.
I'm surprised it
Freon
wasn't.
collectors
This
can be-
one's going to go on eBay then.
Yeah.
I was surprised it wasn't the Optimus Prime with Matrix from like 3 years ago.
Oh God.
I think they
So-
finally got rid of all those. They were giving them out like candy, so it was
I
great.
know they were everywhere.
You guys want to start?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, let's do it.
Let's starting. God, I can't stop doing that. Okay.
It's time for special podcasting.
It's time for special podcasting.
Hello.
This is Radio Free Cybertron episode. It's 405?
405.
It's 405. Last week I lost the episode number and I couldn't figure out.
So what error code is 405?
I don't know off the top of my
Like
head.
everybody knows what 404 is.
It's probably not a good one. On the show this week, we have stuff. Something happened this past weekend. I don't know.
No, it didn't.
Yeah, probably not. But with me this week to discuss said nothing is Diecast, Chris, Melvar, Don, Rob, Clay, John Luna, and special guest Ben Yee. Hey Ben.
Yay, Ben, yay, yay!
Been wanting to have you on for a while,
Hi
so
Ben,
this is
thanks
great.
for joining us.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being awesome. Okay. So, I want to thank everybody who tuned in to Toy Fair coverage this weekend. Special thanks to those who had a part in making it happen. Diecast, of course, who was kicking butt there. Anthony Brucali from TFU.info. Jeremy and Charles from the Transmissions podcast, not the Transmissions podcast that Ben did, which I watched. Duran and Insane Galvatron from TFYLP. Greg from Shattered Cast. Chris McFeely. Phil Powden. Triplet, Melvar, Rob, Chris, Cassius, and anyone that I might have missed.
Timey.
Timey. Oh my God, I forgot Timey.
Timey is gonna hate you after this,
Timey's
man.
done this every single time, too. Gosh. And how could I forget Timey?
I don't know. How did you?
No, I did, though. So, Toy Fair coverage this week was awesome, and we had quite a few people who joined us, as usual, and it's pretty much our favorite thing to do all year. Even if Toy Fair didn't happen, we would probably still... No, actually, we wouldn't. I wouldn't bother
We would if Toy Fair didn't happen, we would find a different excuse.
to hang out all weekend.
Something else to latch on to do all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but a little bit
We
of...
would have like a legit Super Bowl podcast or something, even though most of us don't follow football.
Yeah, I don't care much about football. So a couple of bits of housekeeping. Again, Google Plus, we moved. So if you were following us before, if you want to participate in our Hangouts, you'll need to go to the new Google Plus site, which I have a shortcut URL. It's tfradio.net/G+. And John and I did an episode of Get the Skinny this weekend. It's our second episode. John, how did that go? How do you think that went?
I think it went awesome. We started our food diary.
Yes.
So from now until forever, writing down what we eat, which will, I guarantee, make a change in your diet if you do that. Just write down what you eat. Write down what goes in your mouth. And I am tweeting my meals on GTS Podcast on Twitter as I eat them. So it's exciting.
Ooh, I need to do that. I'm certain people.
So
wanna see
now
what I
with
eat.
one more episode, you'll break the record of the previous iteration of Get the Skinny,
No,
right?
we had 5 episodes before. That'll be the third.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can find that at gettheskinny.org or at our website at tfradio.net. And one more bit of housekeeping. As you know, JD passed away a year ago. We've had some of his stuff for sale. It's kind of been in storage in my house, though, because I've been in the middle of trying to move and it hasn't happened. So I decided to go ahead and pull the stuff out and get rid of what we have, or what I have anyway. So I'll be posting stuff intermittently over the next few weeks, starting probably again this weekend. You can follow me on Facebook at facebook.com/Brian Kilby to stay up to date on what will be available. And thanks to all that's purchased. Ben, thank you. And like I said, the next batch will go up this weekend. Lots of good stuff left, and it goes to a good cause. It'll help out JD's widow, Amanda. Okay, now that that is out of the way, let's jump into the show. This week in history, 1952, our friend Gary Chalk was born. That was yesterday.
Oh, close enough.
Yeah, close enough.
Greatest Russian commander in Stargate ever.
He was the greatest.
He made a pretty good Russian, I'll have to admit.
He was the greatest cop in a Friday the 13th movie that I've ever seen. Far and away.
Well, he was a pretty good cop in that Canadian drama he was in, too.
Was he?
Yeah, it was like the Canadian version of CSI or something.
Whenever I see a movie and Gary's in, I know him. It's pretty awesome. But yeah, so happy birthday to Gary. That was all over my Facebook yesterday. So Gary Chalk turned, 63?
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I hope I look that good when I'm 63. If I make it that
You don't
long.
look that good at 45, Don, so I'm
Damn,
kidding.
you beat me to it.
I'm kidding.
You saw a picture of him 20 years ago?
Oh, that's bad. So, quickly jumping into the
Well,
news.
I'm not on video and suddenly I'm everybody's target tonight.
So,
No, you're
What do you
everybody's
mean
target when you are
suddenly?
on video, Don.
So, Chris, you posted this to T-Formers. You noticed that Starscream sure looks a lot like Thundercracker. Yeah.
Wow. He looks like Thundercracker now.
We never thought
Sorry.
that would happen, did we?
Oh, that upsets me because now I have to buy them if there's more than just Thundercracker.
And see, just before Toy Fair, one of the He Tell Me types, who actually has been proven right on several occasions, said there's still a leader class that nobody's leaked yet. Which was getting a lot of people excited, but the truth is a lot more boring than you would tend to want to believe. It's just Starscream.
Yeah, it's not unexpected. I'll buy it.
No.
It's not the secret. It's not the deluxe mold.
No, I mean, you have a point there. I mean, it's at least it's a better toy, objectively speaking, and maybe, this will come with a crown accessory or something and, make it entertaining.
But,
Yeah, and I'll be okay.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I'll be okay as long as they don't do a quick paint job on it. Do something make the paint really pop to make me say, "Oh yeah, this looks awesome as Starscream. It should have been Starscream all along." That mold just screams Jetfire to me right now. So you really need to do something for me to be like, "Oh yeah, this really was meant to be Starscream."
But it wasn't.
Yeah, I know.
Good luck with that.
But look at Cloud Rodimus. Look at Cloud Rodimus.
Yeah.
Look at it.
If you put the right paint on something, you can make anything be anything and make it believable. No, but Starscream's never been just a straight deco change or a straight palette swap from Thundercracker or Skywarp. They each have their own variations within that theme. So, I mean, there's gonna be more deco to it than just a recolored Thundercracker.
So, Ben, what are your thoughts on the over/under on that? Do you expect that to be Starscream?
I expect it to be all three.
Yeah.
Although I expect them to draw Skywarp out like they have with the Legends class and just make us
Mhm.
forget that it ever existed, and then one day it'll just pop out of nowhere, probably as a store exclusive, just to drive us extra crazy. But
Sounds
seriously,
right.
look, the moment I saw the Thundercracker back in October, this was written on the wall, right? I mean,
Yeah.
who among us didn't automatically think, hey, guess what they're going to do with that? So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just nice to see it confirmed. I kind of am happy about having the Seekers in that scale again. It's been a while. I love that deluxe mold, but like we saw from the announcement from the club, a month or so ago, we got 30 plus of those at this point. I mean, it's getting a little obscene. And the Seekers are a force to be reckoned with, right? They were for a long time portrayed as the primary force that Megatron relied on, and they struck terror into the hearts of everyone. It's a little hard for your Legends class Starscream to strike terror in the heart of anybody on your shelf. So to have a leader class with significant retooling, I'm excited about it. But I agree with what you guys said. I don't want a one-to-one paint swap. I want a unique deco layout and some really nice jazzed up colors, which we know they can do. They've done it for years and years and years now. We've seen sculpts that were kind of okay and then blown up. Here, let me go back a bit. What's his face? Downshift into Big Daddy. Come on, that was great. Who didn't love that?
Downshift was great, but
He
Big
was
Daddy
great,
was
uh-huh.
but
sublime.
then you make him Big Daddy, and everyone's like tripping over themselves to buy the thing, right? Simple deco swap, different pattern, recognizable character, and you're golden. And Cloud, by the way, great example.
Yeah, or
I heart
Skids.
that toy.
Plus, also with
So now
them
here's
saying,
Go ahead, Don. I can wait.
plus with them saying at BotCon how they know people want the trios that are supposed to be together. That's their justification for it. They can do this, and the fans aren't going to be as gripey about getting a repaint because it's one of those that they know a lot of people want. They want Starscream, Skywarp, and Thundercracker. They want Shrapnel, Bombshell, and Kickback. So it's one of the ones that they know they won't get a lot of negative heat on because people want all three.
It's a freebie. I mean, it's you don't have to do anything to the mold to get through. It's not doesn't require a retool. It's automatic. So
How are we going to
So here's my question.
you're breaking up, Melvar. Go ahead, Chris.
Okay, so I think we can all agree. Yeah, Skywarp's probably going to be drawn out and pushed back. It's not going to be the third iteration of this retool. What do we expect to see before that? Will it be Acid Storm, or will they maybe do Sunstorm? What do you think?
Acid Storm.
I hope for Sunstorm.
None of the above.
None of the above. That's what I think too.
Yeah, same here. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Or, Brian, I think you mentioned this a while back. It may have been Chris. Sometimes I get y'all too mixed up on who says what. I know that. But didn't one of y'all say make him into a hooligan? Or a Cyberjet repaint in general?
That
We've
would've been-
talked about doing Cyberjets, yeah, and Hooligan's usually my thing, so.
Yeah,
Of course, I also said do G2 Jetfire from it at one point.
yeah,
'cause
I remember that.
Why not?
I'd
So-
buy it.
Yeah, let's go ahead and jump to the next item, which is we have new photos of the leader class Armada Megatron.
Yay.
I'm buying it. Any
Okay.
thoughts, Chris?
Not that into it, really.
Yeah, I'm buying it.
Yeah, I know.
Anybody care?
I was amused. I was amused to see that they found a way to put Tidal Wave on it.
They put Tidal Wave on it? What?
Yeah, look toward the end.
No, let me go back. I closed out the window.
I wasn't too impressed with G2 Megatron or even Leader Megatron when I saw them at Toy Fair
G2 Megatron?
or the Armada
Armada,
Megatron.
Megatron.
Armada. I'm sorry.
Yeah, rather.
Yeah. But see that.
The
See,
tank
I
looks
look at
G2.
that.
I mean, that's understandable.
Yeah. See that.
There's no big stick.
Yeah. It's the tank mode reminds me more of G2 Megatron than Armada Megatron, and I just wish they had just made it a G2 Megatron.
Oh, they did. That's nice. The Tidal Wave. That's the Energon Tidal Wave.
Yeah, that's just what was on hand for the photographer, as I
Yeah.
understand it.
Yeah. So so that's coming out. I've already got it on pre-order. I'll get it, and I'll share my thoughts when I have it.
Yeah, I'm down with it based on what I saw. I like the leader class Megatron. I liked what I saw. until I have it in my hands, I'm not going to be able to make final judgment. But I'm not in love with it the way I was in love with, say, Rhinox a couple of years ago. Like when we saw Rhinox at BotCon, I was practically salivating all over the glass.
Yep.
Megatron, I'm like, it's like one photo, he's meh. And then I see another photo and he's posed differently, and I'm like, that looks amazing. So I really need this guy in my hands, and I need to manipulate it and see how good he plays out before I can make a final choice.
So next item, if we only had an expert to talk about this. Toy Fair 2015 interview with Senior Brand Director Jerry Javoine.
Can't help you.
So Ben, give us a quick highlight reel of this and how people can find that.
Sure. Head over to my website, bwtf.com, Ben's World of Transformers. The interview is fairly recent news, parts 1 and 2. Part 1 focuses on Combiner Wars. Part 2 focuses on Robots in Disguise. Overview, I sat down for about 15 minutes with Jerry Javoine, or Javoine, if you like to believe the Hasbro operator system. And what we decided to do was split the interview up. I wanted to make it easy and in digestible chunks. So the first part is what most people were excited about, Combiner Wars. And then I reserved the last few questions for Robots in Disguise. Quick note for those watching and curious. Ben, why didn't you ask? Fill in the blank here. I had 15 minutes. It was the end of the day. We were getting some very surly looks from some very surly guards. So I was under the gun. And literally my friend and I, who were there reporting for BWTF, we were the last 2 people to leave. A fact of which we were reminded of 3 times on the way out. So it wasn't a matter of I didn't want to ask certain questions or so on. Believe me, I could have dragged that interview out for 3 hours and it would have been like a book. But I had to be respectful of everyone's time. These folks want to go home. They were tired. I got what I could. Some interesting things about Combiner Wars, some kind of mundane things that people were wondering about. Hey, what's up with the trading cards versus the comic books? All the way to more strategic talk. Why are the Constructicons Voyager class as opposed to Deluxe, as opposed to Leader, as opposed to Legends? So we got to chat about that. And then just why Combiner Wars? We've had such a drought over the years of combiners, and now all of a sudden it's a word in the actual subline. So how did we get there? So that's what you have to look forward to in the Combiner Wars segment. Then in the Robots in Disguise segment, we chatted more about influences. Why is it so different? Why beast robots into vehicles, the difficulties of a market where now we have 3 segments as opposed to just a Transformers line for everybody. So that's another interesting topic we touched on in the interview.
Cool. Yeah, everyone should check that out at bwtf.com, Ben's World of Transformers. And that's not Beast Wars Transformers. It's Ben's World of Transformers.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So also the Hasbro presentation, they said no video and no photos. So they didn't say no audio. So we kind of have the audio of that, and we put that up as a podcast. You can find that at tfradio.net. And because they didn't say no audio, we'll probably actually include that in the audio version of this. So at the end of the show, if you're listening to this, you'll be able to hear the Transformers portion of that. It was pretty entertaining. And no, we don't have video of the Devastator presentation, but I may try to get that from Hasbro. We'll see.
It was pretty good, Ben. I mean, what did you think of that, Ben?
I thought it was a great sizzler. It honestly, folks, don't worry. It's not like Devastator appears in RID and you missed footage or something. A lot of it was recycled footage from the movie and G1, but it was so nicely spliced together. And I think Devastator said a nice thank you at the end for us helping to resurrect him through our interest.
Was like, thank you.
Yeah. I thought it was cute. I thought it was very cute.
It's pretty awesome. Yeah. I wish I had a chance to see that. But you know what? When I buy Devastator, you know where I'm going to get it from? Amazon.
Absolutely.
I'm going to get through Amazon. Go to tfradio.net and click on Amazon. Thank you. Okay, so I had to put that plug in there. So let's see here. Okay, let's go.
A lot more short form than usual. We really are in a hurry.
I want to get Ben in and out. I don't want to take up Ben's time. Mm-hmm. Ben's time's very valuable. So I'll shill during the audio version. Don't worry. So
good.
Yeah, we'll get that out. So Combiner Wars at Toy Fair. So that seemed to have a lot of news. So let's see here. What do we want to talk about first? I guess Ultra Magnus.
It looked pretty good. I was very impressed with how it looked. The fact that it included Ambus Minimus or
That's his form.
Yeah.
That's the way you
Ambus.
formally say his name. It's Mr. Ambus.
Mr. Ambus. But yeah, I thought that was really neat for for a leader class figure. I really liked the design of it. I know it's IDW inspired, but it's definitely a toy that I'm looking forward to owning. Even though it's I have the Masterpiece Ultra Magnus, but I still think this Magnus will fit really nice in my collection.
And conveniently for people watching, I have video going right now, and Ultra Magnus looks great. Now we're showing off the Constructicons, who also look pretty phenomenal as far as I'm concerned. Hasbro's really hitting it out of the park. I'm really, really pleased. I forgot who it was. I think it was Hoop. For some reason, there was a lot of backlash. There was no backlash that I saw on Ultra Magnus, but quite a bit on Devastator. And Hoop's comment was, I'm sorry that this love letter to 1985 isn't quite 1985 enough for you.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I got to tell you guys, it's interesting to me, and this is going to sound paradoxical, but it's true. I think the fact that the reaction has been so polarized on Devastator means Hasbro did it right. People are so extremely passionate about this, and you know what? Even if you hate it, you're paying attention to it, aren't you?
It's beautiful.
That's success right there. I mean, if you talk to a marketing guy, he'll tell you, are they paying attention to my product? We succeeded, And I honestly am seeing just as much hate as love and vice versa online. It's every time I enter a thread, which I've stopped doing, by the way, for my own blood pressure, but
It's hard. I get it.
There for every comment where it's someone jumping in saying, it's terrible, someone else jumps in and say, I love this thing. And it's just back and forth, and that just builds that passion even more. Unfortunately, I made this fun meme, just all these like kind of things saying, it's 6 Voyagers, it's 1 Titan class, and so on. And it was my personal reaction that I posted on my Facebook page to how much I love this thing after seeing it in person. And some guy took it, put it on another Facebook group, and his subject header was, he says, blatantly lying to everybody, implying that I was lying about my feelings on something.
That's what I think when I hear your name, Ben, is liar.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
My name's not even really Ben; it's Mr. Ambus. But and I'm thinking, dude, like, first of all, how old are you? Like, does your mother know you're up this late? And secondly, it's like, okay, you don't like a toy, that's cool, but you don't get to call me a liar over it, And I have to keep in mind that a lot of these fans are younger. They may not understand the history of the line and stuff that we all take for granted, but also some of them, they don't know how to express their feelings without insulting somebody. If they're not enjoying a product. I don't enjoy a product, you know what? I review it, I say, I don't think you should buy it, and I walk away. Most people, for some reason, it becomes this very personal, emotional battle with them. And I haven't seen, honestly, guys, I haven't seen anything like this since Beast Wars. I mean, you remember what happened back then, right? With the G1 fans versus the Beast Wars fans. I mean, for its day. I mean, Don remembers those were some ugly, ugly days and some ugly, ugly flame wars.
There were some days I didn't go to ATT.
Yeah,
because I did not want to be involved with that.
I had joined Alt Toys Transformers just after the big rift. Alt Toys Transformers Classics Moderated had started up, and I missed that, but I have gone back and read a lot of stuff, and it was pretty bad.
But this is worse.
This is worse because the fandom is 4,000 times bigger than it was then. It's crazy.
I mean, I can see it from both sides. I really love that Hasbro's doing this figure, and I will purchase this figure. I'll purchase it in every color they make it in.
Yes.
Cyclone, please.
Which no one can confirm nor deny, but guaranteed this is gonna probably be a San Diego Comic-Con, in some form,
I'll buy it.
Some color. So
yeah. Well, I was.
But that being said, that it being 6 Voyagers is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. But the only thing that I kind of see, and I kind of agree with the fans, is Mixmaster's foot is way too small, which I'm sure there's going to be a third party kit to fix that. Same with the forearms and the hands. They look bad. They don't look horrible, but they don't look, good enough for the rest of the look of that figure. So they'll be addressed, I'm sure. And the other thing is where it bends at the knee, and I'm not sure if you noticed it, Ben, on the figure, but it's like it has a little bit of the top of the leg where the hip is, and then it has a bend right there. And it just looks bad to me, but I think you can straighten his legs out and just have him stand straight up, and to me, that'll fix the whole problem.
Well, it is a robot.
So.
I mean, it's not 100% anthropomorphic.
Yeah, I mean, but the way they had it posed and the way I've seen it in the promotional photos, and maybe they tried to match the pose to the promotional photo, which is why it was posed that way. It's just bent a little bit too high at the leg. So if I can standing straight up, that'll be fine. That'll fix all my issues.
Yeah, I
can't imagine that you won't be able to stand that straight.
Yeah.
Like you're wanting.
Yeah. It's interesting. I don't. A lot of people on these threads and so on have referred to me as a Hasbro apologist, as if I don't recognize that this figure has flaws, right? Yes, is that Mixmaster foot a little small? Yes, but I will say this: not as tiny as I thought it was, based on the initial photos. And I think in those initial photos with the head and that foot, there's some type of fisheye lens thing happening, because I thought they were going to be a lot tinier than they were when I saw them in person. The forearms I have no issues with. But yeah, when you get to the individual robots, hey, okay, does Scrapper not have elbow joints? He objectively does not have elbow joints. I can live with that. Some people think that's the end of the world. Okay, then don't spend your $150 on it. Go make a car payment or something. I mean, I don't. I'm not like telling anyone you should buy something you don't like. What I'm telling people is be fair and be knowledgeable about your opinion. Be informed about the opinion you make. And it's not just toys. I think this, and I think if you're going to go buy a car, you should read up on the car before you go buy it. Same thing with toys. You should know what went into the production process. You should know the background. And a lot of people don't want to take the time to do that because they're so busy being angry. And I find that kind of sad because, I try to educate fandom as much as I can, whenever I can. And then on the flip side, I try to tell Hasbro that we're not all insane. So, I'm pulling double duty here. And,
one of those tasks sounds a lot harder than the other. I'm going to let you guess which one.
But he's not perfect. But you know what? Name me the one Transformers figure that is absolutely perfect and does not have one flaw. I don't think you'd be able to. Oh no, he does have a flaw. He was $85. I mean, the point being that I think also people have the rose-colored glasses effect. They look back on Universe 2.0. And they think, oh, that was like the golden age of Chug, right? And everything was perfect there. I'm like, do you own Deluxe Galvatron? Have you tried to transform that thing?
Prowl or Ironhide or
any of that, yeah.
Ironhide, while I like the effort, I mean, he literally looks like a model kit that someone just like slapped together in vehicle mode.
And then hit with a hammer.
Yeah, and then he cracked under the pressure. I don't leave him in vehicle mode because it makes me sad. But I love his robot mode, so the point is there's no such thing as a perfect figure most of the time. There are figures that come darn close. There are figures that I absolutely think everyone should have in their collection, but that doesn't mean they don't have flaws.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I could see wrong with the individual Constructicons is the elbows. That's it. And that is not enough to stop me from buying this. So
of course. What about diecast, Ben? You guys saw Defensor in person. What do you think about Defensor?
I like Defensor. I think it looked pretty good. The new robot, what were they calling that new robot? Rook. His in robot mode or limb mode, his forearm was kind of a little fat. That was the only thing I saw. Other than that, it's a beautiful figure. I think they really hit it out of the park with that.
The individual robots are dead on. They're
gorgeous.
Perfect.
Yes.
Defensor, the first photos I saw of it, it didn't do a lot for me, but the stock photos that came out, especially the one that he's in that dynamic pose, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Like I said before, I really think the chest is going to end up looking better without groove on it.
Probably.
I
I'm
think so
fine with
too,
groove.
and like the people who have Motormaster in hand are saying that like the sculpted on Menasor chest details are better than opening it up and putting Blackjack in there, regardless of how well Blackjack fits on those ports.
Hmm.
You know what?
Nipples?
I would argue that they understand that not everyone's like us, right? We're going to buy all 6 stunticons, right? And we're going to put them together. Not everyone's going to do that. And they don't want just a gaping hole there. You know, they want some level of detail there. So I think it's great that they put some good detail there. But hey, if you want to put Blackjack on, go right ahead. Have at it.
I think it was interesting in your article, Ben, how he said that they would have really liked to had all the Superion deluxes
Mhm.
in the same wave.
Mhm.
And I almost thought I think we all kind of thought when it originally came out, the reason they threw like drag strip into that first wave was to show that you can use, other team members, to combine with.
Let's Scramble City, yeah.
Yeah.
I think not only that, I think a lot of people, and this is fair speculation, thought, well, this was a kind of way to preview, the Stunticon wave. So here's a whole bunch of aerial bots, but look what else is coming, a bunch of cars. And I think that's a fair assessment too. And who knows, maybe there was a little bit of that. But right, in the interview, it was pointed out that this was a production issue. It just came down to the overseas versions were ready before the US versions, and they put them out. But since the West Coast labor dispute's going on, well, good luck to getting them.
Yeah.
Still happening, folks. If you wonder why Walmart is empty.
Oh gosh, mine definitely is. Don, what about your Walmart? Is it empty?
Don
Don
had to
just stepped
sneak away
away.
for a moment.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't see that. So, okay. So moving ahead to
That's great though. That made it better.
Yeah, moving away to the Voyagers, specifically Cyclonus. What does everybody think about Cyclonus?
I
I think it looked pretty good.
I also think it's a timely release because he's so prominent in the comic book right now. If you're going to have a wave where you've got the Magnus who's prominent in the comic, we've already gotten Tailgate, right? You may as well have the Cyclonus to pair off with him, and he looks Cyclonus-y enough that he works well as your IDW Cyclonus stand-in. I was very impressed by the percentage of parts that were redone. I'm very, very happy that they didn't just slap purple paint on Silverbolt and give him a new head and said, that's Cyclonus, accept it.
Yeah, it's almost like we're
mean-
coming to expect that, if we get a character that we know won't work as a straight repaint, we now expect remolding.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, would you say that like Cyclonus is at least 50% alternate parts from Silverbolt?
At least.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's pretty remarkable. It's like only the limbs are the same between them.
Yep, the head's different. All the jet parts are different. His chest is different. It's huge.
Can we get some deluxe sweeps now to be limbs and arms?
I did actually suggest that. I think there's something perversely wonderful about that idea.
So I actually have this may be failing on my part, but I actually don't know what in the heck is he going to combine with. He can combine with anything, but what's the expectation?
They played very loosey-goosey with that answer when I asked them that. There was kind of a stare, and there was kind of a nod, and then a shaking of the head. So I have no idea what that means. That says to me that they have something planned.
Not.
It's very possible that they don't have anything planned, but they're thinking, hey, what if a store exclusive opportunity opened up? Or, I suspect between BotCon and SDCC, there's going to be more mind-blowing stuff ahead.
Hasbro's been really good about, if they can't outright say, they'll at least, from my experience, they'll at least hint at or, sort of give you like a knowing wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So if they were completely cagey about it, I question whether or not they have any solid plans.
Well, let's also remember they didn't also outright say no, nothing. You're just supposed to combine him with everything else. I mean, there have been times where they've just outright said no, please don't expect anything more than what you're seeing here. But let's leave it open. I think it's very possible we could see limbs that are meant to go with Cyclonus, or he could just be a Decepticon combiner mashup.
Yeah,
which actually is kind of fun.
I think I like the idea of that.
And the one thing I
feel
said
like
to
Go ahead, Diecast.
the one thing I said to Jerry Giovanni is, last year at Toy Fair, they actually said this is what we have left to show you, and this year they didn't do that. So I kind of asked him about that, and I said, what else can we expect? And he was like, you know what, we did mention that last year, and we do have some stuff to still show you guys, but didn't come out and tell us we have this many Voyagers left and this many Deluxes left. So it's going to be interesting going forward to see what we're going to get, because I was kind of disappointed at what we saw at Toy Fair just because there wasn't any huge surprises. I mean, everything pretty much leaked. Even Defensor, we had an idea that we would probably see that because we started seeing pictures of, Hotspot in vehicle mode, through the Transformers app. So there was expectations that I think were pretty much met at Toy Fair, but nothing really exceeded it.
Now, Diecast, we did not know Viper was going to be there. Come on, the true big reveal.
I love Viper.
Yeah.
Viper's in my top 3. I think.
And you know what? Ambus also. I mean, I know we were chuckling about him earlier, but let's face it, that was a big surprise.
Yeah.
That was a huge, pleasant surprise for a lot of fans.
We had all been speculating about what Ultra Magnus was going to be and what it was going to be like for the month leading up to Toy Fair. And this was pretty much my never going to happen pipe dream as to what an Ultra Magnus would be.
We only briefly mentioned Ultra Magnus. Do we want to gush about that a little more? It's pretty phenomenal.
Yes, we do.
The crown jewel of the weekend.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so, brace yourselves, hold on to your arms, guys, but I am not a slavish, loyal IDW Publishing Comics fanboy. I read the stories, I enjoy them about as much as, most other titles that I read, but I'm not... there's this very hardcore, wonderful, devoted fandom to them, and I don't count myself among them. I have a lot of issues with the issues, but, the thing is, that design, I've always liked that Magnus design. When they revealed the Minimus Ambus thing, I thought it's a fascinating concept. I love the idea of a personality and a name meaning more than just the individual robot. I actually wrote fiction for the fan club once. They published it back when they had that on their site, where Flame War did just that with a Megatron exosuit, because she wanted to inspire Decepticons pretending to be Megatron. So it had a fusion cannon, she changed her voice through it. But when they defeated this Megatron stand-in, they saw she was underneath. So I dug the concept. When I saw the toy, here's the thing. I am a sucker for microplay. I love Micromasters in their little cities. I love Cyberverse. I love Legion class. So Ambus being kind of in that range of class, he's basically a Micromaster, and I think he looks great. And I love the concept of a Micromaster kind of having this giant exosuit that he can control. And I think, we sort of got that in Prime, right, where Bumblebee had that big Apex armor suit and everything. But this is 10 steps evolution forward from that, I think, and I think it's wonderful.
It's also to me, is also a very brave concept, where you've got your small character like Kaiser or Fire End taking over for Fire Dagwan or one of those. So it's great seeing a super robot concept, even if inadvertently created in the Transformers brand.
I think we also have to give Hasbro a lot of credit from a creativity standpoint. This is, keeping in mind, this is a licensed property, and names are very important, as we all know. They've basically just taken Ultra Magnus in toy form and said, well, he's not really Ultra Magnus. He's this little guy named Miss Ambus who's standing in his Ultra Magnus. And they're putting it out there not because little kids are demanding it. They're putting it out there because they know guys around our age range love this stuff and love that character, and seasoned farts, and they're giving it to us. And I think among the haze of all the Devastator complaining, it's kind of sad that, like you said, Brian, this is the Magnus gush part, right? I mean, that figure embodies a lot of what Hasbro is doing. They are recognizing what generations can be, and they're taking it in that direction. I think it deserves credit.
I don't know what you're talking about. Hasbro hates the fans. They've just shown it repeatedly for years. So
They said that as soon as they opened up the video. They were like,
we
just,
hate the fans.
To remind you, Hasbro hates fans. I'm pretty sure that's what they said.
I think that's what that heart shape meant, right?
Yeah.
That's
But
awesome.
the other thing I want to mention about Ultra Magnus while we're gushing is someone asked on Twitter, can it hold cars? And yes, it can. I saw it holding deluxe cars, and I don't know where I saw it, if it was a stock photo or if they did it at the event. But that makes me really want some Autobot combining cars. Can
Well,
we
he's
get a
definitely-
repeat?
Well, you're gonna get them.
Yeah, he's definitely going to tow that Rodimus, right? That
Sure.
we're not supposed to know about, right? But yeah,
Well, he can just land Cloud Rodimus's helicopter mode on top of his upper deck. That's what you mean, right?
That's
Yeah.
exactly what I mean. No, but seriously, I'm glad you brought that out, Diecast. That car carrying feature is one of my favorite features of G1 Magnus. So I was so happy to see that they sized it so that he could pull that off again with some deluxes and Legends class as well.
That's pretty cool. Actually, so I think we've adequately gushed over Magnus. I want to gush over Viper. I love Viper.
I want a troop build Viper.
I want a troop build Viper. I haven't wanted to troop build a Transformer. A Viacon from Prime maybe, but honestly, since Beast Machine Scavenger, I think that was like.
Well, I feel happy for the Hasbro team too that they got to bring some GI Joe product to Toy Fair this year.
True.
Well, there's actually rumor that they are working on GI Joe again.
They are. They're going to show something at JoeCon this year.
Yeah.
It was a joke. Yeah, let it go.
So actually, I haven't heard that rumor. What's the rumor?
Basically, it was announced a few months ago that there was not going to be any GI Joe presence at Toy Fair, but they would have an announcement to deliver at JoeCon.
Oh, cool. Excited about that. Is that in a few weeks? It's usually like in
I have no
February
idea
or
when
March.
JoeCon.
I thought it's before BotCon.
Yeah, Joe's not dead. Joe, it didn't have a presence at Toy Fair, but it's by no means forgotten.
I'm still hoping they found a way with them having registered, like we have said in the past, with them having registered Visionaries and Mask as trademarks. If they're going to do anything with them, hopefully they found a common body style they can use across the board to cut costs, so we can get the mass vehicles that you have to have for a mask line, the Visionaries with their holographic technology, whatever they're going to be doing, and with G.I. Joe getting all the vehicles. So I'm hoping this Joe announcement will lead to the other properties being announced later on in the year as well.
That'd be nice. Probably not going to happen. So,
What I heard is that Mark Webber from the Transformers team actually went over to start working on G.I. Joe to actually get that up and running again. That's why he's not with the Transformers team anymore.
That's what I heard. That's
G.I.
the
Joe.
one person I noticed was not at Toy Fair that I've talked to before, and I was actually looking for him to talk to him again. I'm like, where
He's such a great guy.
I hear
yeah,
that.
he is.
I do hear that there is somebody working on Visionaries. His name's Patrick Stewart. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump to that's
Viper?
It. Yeah. Yeah, Viper. Sorry, I thought
Viper.
Viper's gorgeous. I love the mold. I love G.I. Joe. I love the Wild Weasel-esque face. It's pretty phenomenal. And
Yeah, I mean, it's someone's love letter to G.I. Joe in the Transformers
it
brand.
is so much better than Snowcat, and I love Snowcat. This is just beautiful.
I'm actually
Snowcat
glad
wasn't
that
that
they
great of
didn't
a toy.
shy away. They actually called out and they said, yes, that's a Cobra logo. Yes,
Yes.
that is our official G.I. Joe Transformers crossover with a transforming toy. This is very significant. I mean, guys, in history, when we were kids, we wanted something like
God,
this. And to finally have it, again, going back to Hasbro does love fans. They do listen to us. They do read the boards, and they know we've wanted something like this. Now, it's interesting. A few months ago, I was on another podcast, and the topic was, could Transformers and G.I. Joe launch as a joint line or like a sub-segment? And I think everyone on there was enthusiastically saying, why wouldn't they be able to? They could totally do that, and it would sell. The crux of working it basically rested on Transformers shining some of its halo light onto G.I. Joe to help pull it along, but then eventually help Joe build up enough of an audience again that then it could stand on its own legs.
Yeah,
and
I would love to see Human Alliance be brought back in some respect as G.I. Joe and Mask line Don. It's not going to happen, but it'd be cool.
Well, I waited 25 years for RC. I can wait another 25 years for Mask.
Will you be around that long, Don?
Oh,
if I have to burn a regeneration, I will.
Don,
Well, Matthew,
Don, did you
Matthew
buy
might kill him
Vortech?
first. That's the problem.
what, Ben?
No, Don, did you buy Vortech?
Yes, I
You
did.
did? All right, I'm
I was-
curious.
Oh,
I was
you were the one.
I was desperate for something, and it was the closest thing on the shelf.
No. Let me tell you guys. So little tidbit from Ben's history. When I went to Toy Fair that year, when Vortech debuted, they glossed over it very quickly, first of all. But what I will tell you is the person who was at the Vortech table called it out as the successor to Mask. So Mask was called by name at the Toy Fair presentation for Vortech.
I know at least one or two of the molds were direct Mask molds, but just without the masks.
I
Yeah, there you go.
actually don't know what this is.
I was just looking it up myself, so
Yeah.
Don, we've confused everybody.
Yes, yes.
Not to talk
You
more
guys don't
about
know what
Mask,
Vortech
but
is?
No, I don't.
I've
I
never
don't
heard
know
of it
either.
before.
Oh wow.
It aired after
really?
Beast Wars. What is wrong with you people?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was part of the powering up the power
Power
block.
block. Yep.
Yeah.
That was a tumultuous time of
And
my
then,
life.
and then
so.
Vortech got canceled and the power block went away.
Okay, cool. Okay, I'll look that up later. So let's go ahead and jump to Robots in Disguise. I'm really excited about Robots in Disguise, but there's less that I want to talk about though than Combiner Wars for probably obvious reasons. Mega Optimus Prime and Super Bumblebee. They look like fun toys, and people
Mega Optimus has this great super robot look around it that I
Yes.
really like.
people forget that it's a toy line.
What?
Yeah.
Oh crap! I'm on the wrong
You know-
podcast.
I think
Ben,
I forget.
the interview you did, I really liked the one passage in the Robots in Disguise portion where Jerry was saying, they remembered that, this is for kids, and it comes down to what kids can do to play with this. And, after all the things in the recent years, it's like, I'm glad somebody's like really realizing that and talking about that being a factor. Like that was one of the highlights of that part of the review or interview for me. And this is really like proof of them going in that direction.
Yeah, let me tell you guys a funny story. So a few years ago, my little cousin, he's 8 now, but he was, like 6, 7 at the time. My uncle, he really got into Transformers. So my uncle, his father said, okay, I'm going to get him like all these different Transformers. So he started hitting every flea market, every yard sale, and he just bought tons of stuff cheap. He got, and you guys know where this is going to go. He got Revenge of the Fallen Leader Class Jetfire. And he hands it to his son, and his son has no idea what the hell to do with this thing. My cousin just like looked at it and was like, that's nice. So he hands it to his father. Mind you, they had the instructions. And so my uncle starts playing with it for a little while, and then he calls me up and goes, how the hell do I do this thing? And I hadn't transformed mine yet. So I went over for dinner. I kid you not, guys. I spent 45 minutes at the table with the instructions open to transform this. I'd never done it before. And when I was done, I was like, I am not changing that thing back today. That's gonna stay in jet mode for a while. And so, I mean, to your point, man, that's the thing. I when it gets to the point where even the parents are sitting there scratching their heads, going, "What do I do with this toy?" You're losing something.
Or longtime fans.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't do it.
I never even tried to combine
the
my
thing-
Jetfire with Prime.
Oh God, no.
I never even tried.
I let other more brave people with lots more time on their hands to do that. I've got a job.
Bring it back around. I'm amused. Super Bumblebee is actually listed as being 1 inch taller exactly than Devastator.
Oh, I didn't realize it was that large.
Yeah. Oh, he's huge.
Yeah.
I knew it was large. I didn't realize it was that large. I like the look of it. I want this on my desk at work.
He's the new My Buddy.
You're gonna need a bigger desk.
I have a pretty big desk.
That thing's pretty hollow though. I am sure you could I don't know, fit a tape deck in there or something, or an MP3 player. Someone's got to do this. Just
Should we put an 8-track in there for Dawn?
What's
I'm sure I've still got my Story of Star Wars 8-track around here somewhere.
Will a phonograph fit in that thing? I don't know.
What's the MSRP on it?
Let's see. I could look that up.
It's like $50.
It's like $50. Yeah.
It's not bad. I genuinely want
look
this.
At the article link in the show, no, I put the promo stuff from the press kit in there, which should have the SRP on it.
I took pictures of it. I didn't pay attention to it, other than the fact that it was large. I looked over and I was like, "Oh, that's pretty big." But is it like a 3-step changer, or?
Yeah, it's basically a 3-step. It's not a 1-step.
Okay, I didn't think it was a 1-step from looking at it, but I didn't know if they would increase more than 3 or maybe 5 steps to that.
I think it's one, cheaper, right, in development to keep it a 3-step, but also I think 2, in terms of just complication, of making sure it doesn't fall apart in packaging. Because I don't know if you guys saw in the photos, it's pretty open in that packaging. So it's not sealed in a bubble. There's nothing really protecting it. The more parts you have, the more chance that in shipping something's going to fall off. So, best to keep it safe. But I kind of like that idea of having this. I joked about My Buddy before, but it is kind of neat, I think, for a kid to have this, to them, a similar sized Bumblebee to kind of have these adventures with. I think when I was 6, I would have loved to have something like that to take to the backyard or take to the schoolyard or whatever, roll around the ground in vehicle mode. I mean, I think there's something fun there. Now, whether I'm going to pay $50 for it, don't know, because my money just flies out the window every time Takara makes new announcements, and then Hasbro puts stuff in stores, and I'm like, oh god, here we go. But I mean, definitely, I see the value in it. I mean, look, I did buy Stomp and Chomp, but I did some really sophisticated coupon foo to get them. It's not that, worth is in the eye of the beholder. I just couldn't afford $90 for him at the time.
You can't justify
it.
Yeah,
coupon foo was the only way I was going to be able to get him and still pay my bills. It was as simple as that.
I need to throw my wife's coupon foo at that. I mean, she's good at that stuff, and I would like to own it. I just don't want to spend, $60 or whatever it goes for now.
I mean, the cheapest I saw it for, I was at BJ's, which is like Costco.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys have it, but
I do.
He was, I want to say $35.99.
That's not bad. And BJ's takes coupons.
Yeah, so check your BJ's out. Maybe they still have some left over from Christmas.
I'll check it out. So I want to move to Fix It real quick, just because he's so cute.
I like Fix It. I'll get it, and it's a main character on the show.
I know.
So how can you not, pick that up?
He's adorable.
I also think it's great. We're getting him in Legion. We're getting him in 1-step. We have choices.
Oh, I had picked up every version of Grimlock so far, and I love them all. Mm-hmm. But Fix It's so cute.
Legion Fix It looks like the one that would fit in with the warrior class toys too, if you want your idealized
scale
cast. Yeah.
Agreed.
And of course,
I didn't want to use the S word, Brian.
I know. And Minicons. So,
Minicons.
The Minicons are so cool looking.
And they come on sprues.
Sorta.
Well, the weapons come on sprues.
Yeah.
But
Remember when I was telling you guys about the guards being really like they just stare you down? So when I got to the Minicon section, everyone was over at Generation. So no one was in front of the Minicons. And I was practically salivating at these things. And the guard was looking at me so nervously. I think he thought I was just going to grab the shelf and run. They look great in person. I think our photos, as high quality camera you have or whatever, they can only do the toys so much justice. In person, they're just shinier, more intricate. The detailing on them is great. They're really cute. I love the armor weapons. I think I called this out in my review of Toy Fair, but they also said that you could break off some of the translucent pieces from different sets, and they could actually combine into another Minicon themselves. So non-transformable, of course. So just so much thought has gone into them, and then they did and then they connected them to the deployers. I have a video up on my Facebook page, Ben's World TF on Facebook, where you can see them doing the launching. And guys, I'm so happy the deployers can transform. I was so afraid they were just going to be glorified action masters with springs.
Yeah, I'm really impressed, specifically by the Minicons. So we had an interesting conversation this past weekend on the coverage about sprues. I didn't know that Bandai actually had this intricate technology to where they could actually basically mold the toy and have it be
They can do
articulated on the
I
sprue.
can tell you exactly what you're talking about. The coloring of the sprue. They can do up to 3 colors in a single sprue. And while I was going through the Bandai walkthrough, they said this technology is apparently so amazing that people from Toyota came over to Bandai to see how they were doing it.
That's
Oh,
interesting.
wow.
Cool.
But yeah, but that's not what's going on here with the Minicons. This is just they basically they have the accessories on the sprue and they just plop the Minicon down on top of it and package it that way. I like the look of it. It's different. It's a different way to package the toy, and go ahead.
Sorry, super cool to have the sprue outline be the Autobot or
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, not enough accessories come on sprues anymore. Like it actually kind of made sense. Like back with the Ninja Turtles back in the '80s, the accessories came on it, and it was always fun to like pull them off. And I didn't realize it was saving Playmates money, but but you know, I'm all about that. Let's see here, and one more thing from Toy Fair that I want to mention specifically about licensed stuff: the Metal Earth Transformers model kits. Diecast, you had quite a bit of conversation with one of the guys responsible for this. What did you think?
These were amazing in person. I mean, Ben talks about salivating on stuff. I was at this booth for maybe like a half an hour salivating at this stuff. And they not only had Transformers, they had Star Wars, they had Halo, they had Star Trek, and I actually salivated for Brian a little bit because I knew I was at the Star Trek section and I was like, Brian is gonna love this stuff. So I was salivating for everyone at this booth, and I was talking to I'm not sure who he was. He was either an owner or designer or someone, and you know he was actually asking me for suggestions for a Wave 2 Transformers. I guess if they got that far. So
Did
that
you
was
say
kind of
Galvatron?
neat. I did not say Galvatron.
Headmaster
Galvatron would be
RC?
really hard probably because of his round cannon. Because the squarer the figure, the better. And
Soundwave.
yeah, Soundwave, but he's in Wave 1, so.
Oh, okay.
Oh, he is. Okay.
But that's the same
Blaster.
thing I did. I was like, Soundwave would be great. He's totally square. Oh, we did that in Wave 1. Oh, never mind.
Yeah, whenever
Frenzy.
I come across somebody who's like doing licensed work for Hasbro, I just volunteer who they should do next instead of being approached by it. I was at a convention at Baltimore Comic-Con. Hard Hero was there, when they were doing Transformer statues, and I told them that they needed to do a Big Daddy statue. The guy was uncomfortable, and he thought I was crazy. But obviously, it never
Rightfully
happened.
so.
Yeah, I know.
They were telling me with the Metal Earth, the Transformers kit, that because it is an advanced, build, I guess you could say,
Yeah.
that it will probably take about 3 hours to complete it.
I don't have the patience for that.
Well, I mean, you could do it in stages, but there's no
I was just
glue,
thinking that
there's
wasn't
no...
that bad sounding.
Yeah, as
Yeah.
model kits go, that's not too bad.
I could just pay somebody to do it for me.
Outsourcing.
Outsource
Yeah.
it to India.
Yeah, there you go.
Ship it to India. They'll take care of it.
Let's see here. One more thing I want to talk about, and it's just very briefly, third party. Play With This 2 is at Toy Fair. Diecast had a chance to speak with Rick Alvarez, formerly of Hasbro, in respect to Play With This 2, and you got a chance to see some of their stuff. What did you think?
I really liked it. I love the way they're going with it, with the monster theme. I can't think, and I said this to Rick, I can't think of a current toy line that is monster related that isn't like, past movie lines that we've gotten, 50 times already. So I really like the idea. One of the things we were able to break news on is that the all-in package that they're going to do on their Kickstarter when it launches on February 27th or 28th. I believe it's maybe midnight of the 27th. That it's going to be $1,000 for the all-in package, but you're going to get everything, including all the stretch goals that are encompassed in that Kickstarter, and the first 150 people that actually sign up for that all-in package will get a BMOG also as a gift for being one of the first 150.
And it's an exclusive color too, right?
Yeah, it's an exclusive color, and that will actually, if they get 150 that go all in, that will take them to, I believe, 2 or 3 stretch goals in to the Kickstarter already. So
when you said $1,000, I said that's a lot. It is a lot of money, but like I wish I'd gone into the full package for what was the name of the one that we talked to before? The guys, like, mine can't think of the
Vitruvian Hacks.
Yeah, Vitruvian Hacks. I wish I'd have gone all in on that one, because it ended up being a deal once you got their full package. It wasn't like $1,000. It was like $500, but it was substantially cheaper than actually getting all of the units individually. Do we know what the initial offering is going to be on the Kickstarter? How realistic or how reasonable is that $1,000? What is that going to get you? Do we know yet?
We don't really know. How many figures, how many heads? Because the one thing that was really cool is like they're doing head stands. The one thing there was, everything was cool, but they're also putting like ball joints on the weapons, so you can put the extra heads on top of the weapons, and you can put, like, he had a mace with a ball on it, and you can connect one of the heads to the mace, and it'll be on a chain, and like there's so many cool things that you can do with them, and they're mix and match, kind of like Hero Mashers. And Ben, I don't know how many companies you went and saw, while you were at Toy Fair, but literally every company is doing mix and match figures now. Like Hasbro's doing it with Hero Mashers, Bandai's doing it, Ninja Turtles are doing it now. Bandai's going to do it with their Power Ranger figures. So almost every company, and I'm sure Mattel had something that was mix and match too that I'm probably forgetting.
We need to bring back Star Ears. Okay.
Mattel's
They're all doing it.
WWE, wasn't it?
Oh God.
Oh yeah, I heard about those.
But yeah,
But with WE, you could do some pretty creepy stuff with that.
Yeah, I don't want to think about that.
I'm a little afraid
To be
about
fair,
that.
It starts out pretty creepy.
Yeah, but I'm fairly certain we're going to have Rick and company on to talk about that. So hopefully we'll know more soon. The Kickstarter, I think, starts next week. Hopefully we'll have them on before the Kickstarter actually starts. Real quick, wrapping things up, more news on tformers.com. The Action Master concept art was posted from the Space Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that was passed around. Our very own Rob Springer on his personal Facebook page, I probably shouldn't mention this, was questioning why this was news. Because it's available on the TF Wiki. And I asked that too, and Chris pointed out that the photos that they released are higher res than what the TF Wiki has.
The other thing too is that, like, we all take for granted that we've been around for years and we know the stuff is out there on the wiki to look at, but not everybody knows the stuff exists, and it's cool to bring it to people's attention again every once in a while. And that Ultra Magnus, I can't say for sure that it's a new thing that's come up, but I don't remember it specifically, so it's certainly not something you see all the time.
And Ben, you pointed that out too, right? I think on Facebook that you've never even seen
Magnus, image is not on the wiki. When Rob said, everything's. I mean, yes, the Predaking, I believe, is, but I'm not even sure if him riding on the bike in different modes is on the wiki or not. I know the wiki has some of that. I don't think it has all of it. But that's beside the point. I kind of had to read that thread a little bit before I fully understood where Rob was coming from. I think where he was coming from was less about the content and more about how you present the content.
Exactly.
So taking the images from the Space Bridge, posting it on your page, and it's saying, hey, the Space Bridge has this, and this is our news item. and then maybe at the bottom putting a link to the space bridge. You know, that I think what he was trying to get across is that's a little disingenuous in terms of being a quote unquote news item. You know, I kind of get that. You know, I did repost the space bridge's Facebook post, but I shared it to my page. That way, if you were to view the images, you'd have to click and go to his album. It's his work. It's his stuff. You know, he put it together. He bought it or whatever. He should get the click.
Yeah,
that's my philosophy.
And then like you said, how it's shared specifically. Like certain things are news items should be posted on your website. Certain things should just be reshared from Facebook. It's interesting, and it's something I think about a lot. And I'm going to start posting more TF Wiki content to our Facebook page at facebook.com/TFRadio. There you go. And other stuff. Chris, Rob, do you want to tell us about the rest of the news?
Okay. Well.
Oh, Rob, why don't you start off?
Okay. Next up, we've got Hisashi Yuki on Twitter has posted the first pictures of the Transformers Adventure version of Warrior Class Strong Arm, who, as is typical, has a few more paint applications on the chest, but otherwise looks fairly similar so far to the US version.
There's more in the helmet, too.
Ah, yeah, I hadn't noticed that. Beyond that, of course, Toys R Us's Twitter is now hosting the vote for the Fanbelt Combiner's special power. The choices are causing earthquakes, gravity manipulation, or teleportation. We've got IDW's solicitations for May 2015, which...
Where we got the leader Starscream thing from.
Yeah. And lastly, we've got a really great in-depth analysis of everything we saw at Toy Fair and, you know, questions you may have about it that XV wrote this evening, and it is really good.
Yeah, it's really,
I also
really good.
Put together a couple of images in there to give a general sense of the size of the Constructicons relative to reasonably well-known figures, and also Minimus compared to a Legends figure and something else of the same size.
Cool. That's it as far as news goes. Ben, how do people find you? Where are you at on the internet? I assume you're on the internet, right?
What? The what? I just chisel away at stone tablets and I leave them out in the street. I am at bwtf.com, Ben's World of Transformers. You can also find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Ben'sWorldTF. I am also on Twitter at bwtf_Ben.
Pretty sweet. And you've been, gosh, how long have you had your website going now? Like 15 years?
Yeah, since dinosaurs roamed the earth. Yep.
Actually, no longer than that. Since what, 96, 97?
96.
Yeah.
96 is when I started up. That was when it was actually hosted on a college server way back in the day when students used to get accounts. That's what BWTF started as. And yeah, it's been going on since. We had a little bit of a break when I separated from figures.com. You know, had to stop operations for legal reasons for a little while, and then I came roaring back in around 09, and it's been going strong ever since.
And, you know, actually, I just want to mention this. Some people may, if they don't know who you are, they'll probably recognize your name. Yes, Ben's name was on every episode of Beast Wars that posted, or that aired, so, because you were the consultant.
Well, three of them, and then I got referenced in a couple other ones.
Your name only showed up on 3 episodes. Yep. I thought it was in the credits on every episode.
Nope, it was the Agenda trilogy because that's the one I had the most involvement with.
Oh wow! Yeah. For some reason, I thought it was more than that. Wow, my brain. See, memories.
Oh wait, hold on, wait. Yes, I am on every single episode. Right? No, but guys, let me tell you, there is being a longtime fan, one who likes to be creative. I think to this day that is one of my proudest moments.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Just having my name on an official Transformers television show in the credits, to this day, whenever I see that episode, when those credits roll up, it still blows my mind. For some reason, I keep thinking it's going to disappear. Like they cut it out for the DVD release and it just won't be there, and there it is. And I'm like, it's still there, yay!
Well, Ben, at the time when all this was going on, I kept hearing that they were going to go in a completely different direction for the agenda, and it wasn't even at that point. It wasn't even going to tie into Generation 1 if at all. And with your input, they steered it a lot more towards the continuity that we know nowadays. But I never got a chance to ask you how much of that was accurate or not.
No. I think that takes too much credit away from Bob and Larry, Bob Ford and Larry DiTilio, story editors on Beast Wars. I think they actually definitely wanted to do G1. I think where my greatest influence came in was elements like the choice of Ravage as the Decepticon who would appear, having certain details of the arc in there. Here's a fun little story. I think I've told this before to folks, but I don't know if it's common knowledge. But Bob writes to me and says, "Okay, we're going to show the arc," and mind blown, right? And I said, "Okay, great. And what do you need from me?" He says, "We need to know what it looks like inside." And I'm like, "Oh God!" So what I did was I actually rushed out a bunch of episodes of VHS back then, because we back in the day you couldn't just upload it to YouTube or I'll send you some screen captures. It didn't work like that. So I FedExed him VHS tapes, and that's what the animators actually worked off of, and that's why they embellished obviously, but they did have core material to work with, and that's why the arc still has the nice golden color, and some of the control panels were there, and the command chair was there. They got all that right off those VHS tapes. So that's where my greatest influence was. And then this is common knowledge, at the end of the series when Simon Furman was working on it, and the original ending was going to be much more G1 oriented, sort of like part 2 to the agenda, where not only was Nemesis going to be involved, the Ark was going to be involved, the Conehead Seekers might have been involved. It was this big crash bang thing, which then the budget people said, no. So we didn't get that, but there was a lot of conversation behind the scenes like that. So Don, that gives me way too much credit.
Well, no, I'm just saying that was the story. Yeah. Everyone's always argued, since we never saw Megatron get his spark back, is that deleted scene actually canon or not? It's one of them things that'll never die.
It is to me.
Yeah, I think I'm fine with it. It doesn't keep me up at night anymore.
Oh, no, it just...
That was pretty cool.
He just gets the shakes during the day now.
Occasionally I do. I really do. Well, awesome, guys.
That's the caffeine, Brian, not the TV thing.
I've only had one Pepsi Max and this coffee since we've been doing the show.
That we know of.
Yeah.
Since we've been doing the show.
Wait, I saw him drinking cheerwine too.
There's hardly any caffeine in cheerwine. Hey, so we haven't done this in a while. Diecast, how do we find you on Twitter?
You can find me at Diecast2. Yeah, it's been a while since. At Diecast2 or at TF Radio when I'm at an event tweeting live.
Sweet. Chris.
Yeah, you have to think about that for a second because you've been tweeting off the RFC account for about a week now.
Chris.
What?
You.
What?
Okay.
Where can we find you?
Melvar's not on the internet. Don, you are at...
I'm at HMRC for EVR on Twitter. You can reach me through TF Radio as well.
336-724.
And you can also reach me through my other home, TFYLP. You can reach me over there as well through the Facebook fan page.
Way to plug. Good job, Don. And speaking of plugs, Rob Clay.
I'm going to edit out, Don.
Yeah.
I'm not.
I am on Twitter at RAC2750 and also at Flail Throughs. I'm also on YouTube under that name. I've been playing through Gundam Breaker 2, which is, believe it or not, it's a good Gundam game. They happen. I was just as surprised as anyone else.
And is John there?
Happened.
Yeah, I'm here.
How do we find you?
That John D on Twitter and GTS Podcast.
At
Twitter.
the just GTS Podcast. I said at the GTS Podcast. I need to get that too. I'm also at GTS Podcast, personally at B Kilby, and on Facebook at facebook.com/Brian Kilby. And you can find us at TF Radio on Twitter and facebook.com/TF Radio. Wow, we haven't plugged ourselves in a while. Not enough plugging going on. Ben, thank you so much for being with us this week. We really appreciate it.
This was fun, guys. Thank you so much for having me on.
You should come back. You're more than welcome to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Drop me a line.
Sweet.
Yeah. It was good to see you being more than like 5 seconds in passing too.
Now, Don, I know you have a cam because I've seen you on here before. What happened?
Internet issues.
Random deer ran into something and knocked out the.
I hate
live
it
out
when
in
tears break my webcams.
Yeah, it's
there's a blade of grass touching an electric fence about 5 miles down the road. And
So back when so Radio Free Cybertron, this is our 15th year. I've been doing this off and on for 15 years. There was 6 or 7 months back in the 90s when there was a blade of grass that was on an electric fence that kept me from having a solid internet signal on my phone line to upload an episode. So there was like weeks that episode didn't go up because of a blade of grass.
That's amazing.
It's true. So
fortunately, being we didn't have a Massey attack tonight, so there was no video for YouTube.
yeah,
Enjoy the Massey attack.
people love Massey is way more popular than like anything else that we do.
Yeah.
And I've actually seen Ben at a couple of the events, but we've never actually gotten to talk because we're so busy, trying to cover the event.
Well,
so
most
it
of
was
what
nice.
you see at these events is each other's backs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You don't
like
actually-
someone.
well, Ben, I know I saw the back of your head in someone's picture of Devastator.
Yeah.
At the event.
Did you guys like those?
Yes.
Yeah.
Pretty sweet.
Someone took a photo of the person getting ejected from the Hasbro event, and you see my head in the. I'm
that's
watching the whole
awesome.
thing unfold.
Yeah. Cool. Well, people out there, thank you for listening. If you're listening to the podcast version of this episode, we will have the Hasbro presentation next because we have it. Why not? So,
It's a good listen.
yeah, it's a good listen. So, for everybody here, thank you very much. We will be back next week.
Take
Okay.
care, everybody.
Take care, everyone.
Sweet. Perfect.
It was funny on the audio, or when we were at the presentation, because they did Transformers, and everyone was like, "Oh, we're done," and then they still had like
My Little Pony.
My Little Pony
Yeah.
or something.
My Little Pony passed Transformers as far as sales, though,
Yeah.
didn't it?
Yeah, it's their new cash cow.
So it makes sense. At work, people have the idea that I'm a brony. So I came into my office one day, and there was a My Little Pony that someone had stapled to my cube wall.
I'm sorry.
I know. But it was my friend Mark that did it. But I literally got up and I said, in a really loud voice, you could hear this all across the office, I am not a brony. My director busted out laughing.
Diecast, I don't know if you remember, but during the presentation, I can't remember her name, but the brand person who presented Pony, there was a point where she said something, in the most politically correct way I've ever heard anyone say that there are bronies out there. But she didn't use the word, though.
No.
Right.
She said, this is popular with all types of audiences.
Yeah,
Is
something
that how
like
she
that,
phrased
like
it?
a
Not
Yeah.
just for
wide
little girls
audience.
anymore. Yeah.
And I had to stop myself
Yeah.
laughing because I knew what she was saying.
Mhm.
And there's a thread somewhere right now of a bunch of guys talk. Oh, was it Rob who said Transformers sites stop posting Pony news or something like that?
Yeah,
He was
that's
talking
Yeah.
about the Allspark. I love the Allspark.
I like the Allspark of the message board. I'd be just as happy if they stopped trying to be a news site.
I do skip straight to the message board. It's just one of those things that I've never even thought of Allspark as a news board. News site. I've always just thought of it as a message board. But yeah, I love Allspark. It's it's one of those things. If Alt Toys Transformers was more viable as far as access goes, I don't like Google Groups. I'd probably still post Alt Toys Transformers, but it's hard to do.
Yeah.
But DVD still posts, Zobivore still posts. There are people there that still post that have been there, forever. And I'm certain they'll post there for the rest of their
There will
lives.
always be a Deathy.
Yeah, and it's not me this time.
Not
The one I've
this
seen on
week.
Facebook, there's multiple of them.
I think I was the first fake Deathy. I am pretty proud of that. I am pretty sure I was the first one.
Far from the last, though.
I
Fake
was.
stuff is crazy, Brian.
It's hard.
No, I was on. This was back in ATT days. Someone once wrote a very intricate review of a toy that doesn't exist.
Was this me?
If it was you, fess up, because I wasn't offended. I was actually impressed. The person wrote a faux review as if it was me, claiming it was my review.
Oh, that wasn't me. That wasn't me.
I
I did take up the mantle of Patrick Stewart after Patrick Stewart
okay.
actually stopped posting.
Okay. The toy was supposedly a playset of the Megatron head from Beast Machines. And this was an intricate review. Like, he's described how it opened up and how it had panels and lasers coming out of it and everything. Then I was reading this and I was like, this is a guy who's obviously read my site because he wrote in my style. But
that sounds like something I would have done, but it wasn't me.
Yeah.
Because I am kind of really OCD, and I like when it comes to like writing stuff. If I'm trying to do something like that, I am a student of how somebody writes, and I would have done that, but it wasn't me that I remember.
Weird thing, the guy never.
So I just read on my news feed that someone's reported Toys R Us has an inventory listing for Masterpiece Starscream, like a new one.
Okay.
With
Yeah, that's
Cape
thrilling,
and
isn't it?
Crown, probably.
Well,
I
Cape and
guess.
Crown would be great, actually.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's actually that made the toy for me. The cape and the crown. Like I shouldn't say I bought the import. My wife bought me the import for my birthday. But that I love that Masterpiece figure with the cape and the crown. Like, it makes it.
Even without the coronation gear, if they do the revised Masterpiece Seeker mold as Starscream for the U.S. release, I mean, that's something that needs to happen.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I can live with it or without it. I don't care.
And plus,
I'm not going to buy it, but like I recognize that it's something that needs to happen.
He'll pick
for
it off
US
the shelf
market.
and nod at it.
Yeah,
Affirmative.
that mold needs to die.
That U.S. The original U.S. release of that Starscream mold was very hard to get, and not every Walmart.
Oh, it was
got
very popular because it was the first one. So, like, if I remember the sequence of events, and Ben can probably correct me if I've got this wrong. There was a Takara one, which was done in like the green gray, the muted, more realistic colors.
The sky blue.
And then the Walmart one was the first G1 accurate one. Then Takara did another
they
issue
called
of
it
that.
the USA edition or whatever they called it.
With a crazy good deco, though, I have to say. I love
Oh, it
that.
was. It absolutely was. I mean, I saw several of those at Walmart and seriously considered picking one up.
I
but
never saw
got
it, or
around
I
to
would have picked it up.
I never saw it either, and I
neither.
knew about it and was looking for it, and I never saw it. And I'm I'm right outside of Philadelphia, so there's plenty of Walmart stores in my area, and none of them, as far as I know, got it in. And I even had a friend that worked in the toy department at one of the Walmarts.
I never had a problem getting Skywarp though.
Really? You guys got lucky. No, I live in an area where I am very sure that I am competing with an army of scalpers. So
Men in Black.
It's not that we don't get the stuff; it's that
Oh,
I'm
Brian,
not there when the
please
stuff's
don't,
coming.
Brian, please don't say that name. You will give me flashbacks to.
Wait, do you live
getting hot
near
flashes.
Don, Ben?
No.
Say again?
No,
Do you live near Don?
no.
No, but
Ben, you remember '96?
Men in Black running BotCon.
Yes, there's a reason we call that the disaster.
that was the dark time.
Yeah.
We don't talk about the
The
dark
long ago.
But yeah, no, in my, I'm not too far from New York City. I'm in Jersey, and I'm only an hour, half hour out from the city. So I mean, unfortunately, this is just a zone that attracts scalpers. But I got my hands on that Skywarp at Walmart, but it was the only one I ever saw on shelf there. If there had been others, I would have actually picked a couple extra because I had friends who were looking for them at the time.
I would say that if somebody wanted to live somewhere where they can find Transformers easily, Oklahoma City.
Really?
Yeah.
That was always how it seemed with JD.
JD always said that he never had a problem, and when we went to go visit him before BotCon 2012, we went looking for toys.
There's a ton of GI Joe stuff there that Brian hadn't seen anywhere before.
Wow.
Tons of it, and I was able to buy it because it'd been sitting there forever, and I sold it for quite a bit. It was awesome.
Wow.
And like my animated RC came through JD from Oklahoma City before I ever saw one local.
And but the thing is, JD's came through me.
Wait a second.
Came from the other place that I recommend for finding toys, which is Phoenix, Arizona. We know like 2 or 3 people on Twitter in the Phoenix area, and they always find everything first. It's horrible.
Well, apparently California, I guess maybe this isn't surprising, but I have a couple buddies out in California, and they're an hour apart from each other, who are constantly finding new things.
Yep.
And while it's bone dry on my side of the country.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of the guys that's always in the in the hangout with us after the show. Lauren, he's right around where San Diego, where and he finds new stuff all the time, like GI Joe, Transformers, everything. So
I'll be honest with you guys. If it weren't for Amazon, HTS, BBTS, these guys, I probably wouldn't own half the toys I do without paying.
Oh, same here.
Yeah.
Well, I work for one of the biggest companies in the world in one of the biggest stores, and in my area, there's never anything except my Toys R Us. I found everyone who needed a US MP10 at my Toys R Us, and apparently there was like 10 more that I never saw that someone drove from South Carolina to buy.
Wow.
So my store had at least my Toys R Us had at least 15 or 16 MP10s at the time, and it's just rare for it to work out. Like
I would actually be okay with them just reissuing that thing annually at Christmas, like in that packaging, because that packaging is so gorgeous, and I guarantee you it would just keep selling for some unknown reason. Like everyone would own it and just buy it again or something, because they vanished around here. We got shipments in my area during Christmas, and I would see them one day and they just vanished the next day.
Well, heck, a couple of years ago, my store was cleaning up after Christmas, and we found a Universe 1.0 Snarl on the shelf.
Wow.
Out of nowhere.
I saw a picture someone posted a day or two ago from a Walmart where there was a Cybertron short round hanging on pegs with
for $3
changers. Yeah.
No kidding. God,
that was a little bit.
I would have had to bought it if I saw that. Just for the fact that
the oldest thing
I probably would have too, even though I have short round already.
The oldest thing I can get my hands on right now that I know of is a month ago I saw Scalpel at a Rite Aid. That's it.
Oh well, Ben, I can do you one better. I believe there was a Rite Aid down where mom used to live at her house, and I found Tankor / Octane, the repaint of Legends Hound in the black colors, and another Legends class figure, and that was like 9 months ago.
Oh,
less than a year ago. They still had Octane Tankor on the shelf.
Wow, the store at the time forgot.
1999.
What a terrible toy.
What a terrible price for a terrible toy.
They should make a third-party Octane. Oh, they are. Never mind.
No. Now we know every classics and Henkei and everything that came out before 3 years ago was perfect.
Well, Ben, we've actually discussed this before on the show. How I'm defending Octane as being a decent toy.
He's decent.
But the other guys are just saying he's crap. And
okay, so my crapometer is different than everyone else's, but Galvatron is like one of my exemplars of the crapometer. I think if an arm falls off every time you transform a figure, he's in the crapometer range.
Yeah.
Tankor at least he's in one piece when I transform him.
Octane's not, flawed design bad. It's just like really uninspired, and boy, they could have done so much more with this bad.
Well, yeah.
We also got to be fair. The poor guy doesn't exactly have the most exciting alt modes.
He could, though. That's the problem.
I mean,
a tanker truck in a freight plane.
Not a jet fighter, but a freight plane. I mean,
okay, but think about what they did with Lugnut. Lugnut doesn't have to be a triple changer, but they took the same style of alt mode and made it interesting.
Yeah, but Lugnut's also a more interesting character.
I won't dispute this, but still, the alt modes themselves are not specifically, toxic.
No, I don't think it's toxic, but I think, Lugnut's still a war machine.
Yeah, he's a bomber, not a freighter.
Inherently more interesting than, but what's cute about Tankor is he becomes two of the things that get us our toys. So it's kind of fun in that respect. And I'll also say, while he was very true to a degree to Octane, I think sometimes even an average sculpt can get elevated quite a bit if you give them the right deco, and I unfortunately
Absolutely.
didn't quite have that. But there are many examples of toys where I liked the toy, but I didn't love it until it got a redeco.
Well, that's kind of like the reveal of the shield jazz mold for me. I didn't care much for the U.S. version because it was just kind of blah. But you get the ricochet from that. You get the botcon recolors from that.
Kick
That
off.
mold really just pops. Wheelie.
Yeah. Wheelie.
Wheelie's awesome.
Really well, yeah. And
I keep one nearby at all times.
just in case the Sharkticons attack.
Yeah.
He keeps one by at all times just in case he starts to rhyme.
Although
I
I,
keep
will
one-
say,
I-
I'm happy that Nightbeat didn't use that sculpt. I might be in the minority on that, but
I think you are.
Like,
but
my
no,
philosophy was I would have been happy to get another use of the mold in a
Sure.
new color scheme like that. But, like, it doesn't fit the character, so yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what I mean. I think Kickoff is more appropriate
Oh yeah.
with that sculpt than Nightbeat. Nightbeat has that Master Force, look to him. That the biggest thing being the chest panel, the torso panel. To me, Nightbeat just isn't the guy with the car front sticking out in front. He's got a flat torso thing happening. But that's I'm thinking not from so much a toy perspective, because of course Reveal the Shield Jazz is just a better toy. He's got more stuff, he's bigger, he's heavier, he's more complex, he looks great. Objectively speaking, it's a better toy. But I'm thinking purely from a character standpoint. I think, looking at Nightbeat, I see him more as Nightbeat than, well, the packaging illustration showed him. Because to me, that looks like it's Nightbeat's head and he connected to the wrong body. He got confused that day.
I just want to know if the Nightbeat head and the searchlight accessories they made for that still exist somewhere that could be used at some point, even if not as Nightbeat, but something related. Make a siren out of it or something.
I wonder that too, because nowadays with Photoshop, you could so easily mock something up that doesn't exist. And I know
I do that frequently.
Yeah, and you know what? They put the brakes on that pretty fast, and it came down to cost. So I wouldn't be surprised if it just didn't exist, and it was only in digital manipulation world.
Yeah, because the only picture we ever saw of it was like little thumbnail size, and at that size, you can't tell. You can't tell if the stuff's real or if it's CGI or just like drawn on, even.
Yeah.
And we've also got supposedly the Perceptor alternate head of Reflector.
Well, that stuff exists because like that's
Yeah.
the pre-tool alternate stuff that's actually designed into the mold.
Yeah.
Nightbeat stuff was added after the fact. So
Right, but I'm
not
just saying,
saying-
there's still a lot of stuff out there from
Yeah.
the past couple of years that we haven't seen a use
yeah, it doesn't
of.
cost out anymore, and we're not going to see that.
Do
unless the card
you
does.
do you want another instance of that reflector toy?
I'm good.
No. I'm just saying.
I mean, an instance of Perceptor. We didn't get Reflector.
Oh yeah, sorry.
If I found a deal on it, I would probably get the black one.
Oh, Magnificus is nice.
I
Yeah.
did see that for $69 on clearance somewhere.
That's not bad.
Too
But I
much.
can't remember where.
40 or less, thanks.
Is that the G1? Is that the eHobby G1 version or the?
the eHobby recolor.
Based on the original toy from the 80s.
Yeah,
And
well,
I think Fun Pub also sold them
Mhm.
through their
yeah,
partnership.
because the one that used Perceptor had the Diaclone commander with it,
Uh,
and I heard that Diaclone guy was really fragile.
well, I didn't break
Not-
but I wouldn't throw him around. I wouldn't.
So
I
you would
mean-
not be Vangelis doing a stress test.
No stress testing. No. I think
No, it's a
take-
Microman figure. The stress test is existing.
But I got to tell you guys that era that we're talking about, that e-hobby era, man, what a glorious era to be collecting back
Yes.
then. All
yes.
that G1 stuff, all those Diaclone redecos, man.
Ben, did you
know?
ever get the Go? Did you get the GoBot set? Because that's the one set that I did not get.
I have it.
I did.
love that set so much.
I sold it for what I paid for it. I'm a
I
sucker.
always wanted that set. I just never got a chance to get it. I got Road Rage. I got the silver. I got Crosshairs, the silver version of the Skids recolor. I got lucky.
Cut.
Sorry.
Cut.
I'm sorry. Oh, leave me alone. I got twin cast and all those, but I didn't get overcharged because they were so high at the time.
What about Windblade?
Which? I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. Just joking.
He's just talking about Windblade.
Oh, Windblade. Okay, yeah. No, that.
Yeah, I remember. I was actually at BotCon being a couple years ago.
You don't say.
And me and Brad.
Did you ask any questions while you were there?
Anyway,
Actually, Don restrained himself last year, as I recall.
I've restrained myself for several years.
Yeah,
not asked.
I think I saw the last time Don actually asked for Headmaster RC, and it was like OTFCC 03.
Yeah, because I was at BotCon 04.
That was before I'd actually met you, and I leaned over to somebody, I think it was Hooper X, and I'm like, oh my god, that's Headmaster Don in person.
A legend in his own time.
But I was with Brad Russell. You know Brad.
Yeah.
And there was a guy selling a eHobby anime accurate Astrotrain.
Yep.
The guy forked over, and me and Brad watched him, $350 cash. Is either I want to say $350, but it may have been
$40 for that thing.
Yeah, but but you know the one that the darker olive-ish kind of anime color Astrotrain, that was a limited run. I saw a guy pay. He paid at least $300. Run? Yeah,
I've probably got it and never took it out.
Yeah.
I never took my overcharge out. He's still sealed. God, there's a couple of those things that I just bought, and because I used to get them from an import shop in the city, and during that time period, he would just write me an email every now and then and say, "What do you want?" And I'd just say everything. When it came to the reissues, I was like, "If it's a reissue, I don't care. Just put it in my box."
I bought the twin cast, and I was like, this is a godsend because I will never get a G1 twin cast because all the G1 stuff I need is stuff that I'm not going to pay for Minerva. Yeah. I'm not going to pay for Dino King. I want them, but I cannot justify what they go for now. I was lucky enough to get my stuff when they were still on the shelves. Mm-hmm. Oh, heck, you were there were you there when I got Grand Maximus? Were you?
I was not there when you got Grand Maximus.
Yeah, but you've heard the story.
I have, but I wasn't there.
It's like that's when I was getting all the stuff because it was still everywhere in Japan. Once it dried up,
yeah.
Heck, Hydra had a slightly yellowed but still good-looking Minerva. That thing was 4 figures.
Jesus.
In the box.
You know what shocked me? Did you guys see that eBay auction where a guy put up almost the entire European gold box collection?
Yes,
sealed.
No, I didn't see this.
I've been watching that.
Oh, I think the auction's down now, right? I think it ended.
What did he go for?
No, but it didn't. He didn't even get his reserve.
Oh, what was
bidding only made it to like $4,000, and then it just ended. I don't know if he's relisted.
Entire gold box line.
That there's easily $10,000 worth of toys in that auction, and it's one of those things where I was seriously talking with friends and saying, do we want to go Dutch on this? Like 4 of us just get together, buy the lot, and just divide the lot out. Like I really don't care which pieces I own. Just having those gold package ones in such beautiful shape.
I know. It's just I meant to watch that and didn't. I just cannot believe he didn't get his reserve.
I think it wasn't as publicized as the other auctions, like that $20,000 whatever auction a while back.
Oh, from G2 Minosaur.
Yeah. But those those gold boxes, they're kind of an unknown treasure among Transformers.
How what was the condition on the boxes?
Dude, mint.
Oh yeah,
they were. Somebody could have bought those and put them AFA'd them and 10 times over the money.
I think whoever's selling them didn't know, or maybe he didn't care to go that route. But those things were gorgeous, man. I mean,
the Combaticons. I would just want the Combaticons.
I mean, Don, you know the auction I'm talking about. Doesn't it look like he just took them out of the case?
Yeah.
Took the pictures and I put them right back in?
Yeah, we joke C10 case fresh. These things were C10 case fresh.
No creases, no bends, no wear.
I think I saw a ding on one corner but I had used the magnifying option to actually see that or something.
There's a
along
ding
those.
on the corner. Hasbro hates us.
That's right. Absolutely. Hasbro UK specifically.
Well, historically, Hasbro UK does hate the fans.
Hasbro UK is just like so put upon. Like they just can't do what they want to do. It's like Hasbro Australia. Those poor guys. Oh my god.
Yeah,
You know, I don't care what you guys, any fan in the US thinks. They're complaining about. Oh, a Voyager's $24.99. Try living in Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
one of my
Holy
good
crap.
friends. Yeah. Well, Ben, you know about the Solar Chigogan line from Bandai.
Mhm.
I bought. They reissued God Mars. My friend Hing, who I say with I bought the God. He gave me the money. Got God Mars, paid for shipping from BBTS. Paying for shipping to Japan to Australia is still cheaper than directly from BBTS.
I have a buddy who's doing translation work for me for BWTF, for the Japanese stuff in Australia. It is cheaper for me to buy the stuff at retail here, Amazon Prime it over to my house, then pay shipping to ship it to him. And he's still coming ahead versus going to his retail store.
Well, back at BotCon 05, a friend of mine from the UK, Wing Zero, came over, and he bought 2 suitcases at Target. And he bought 4 Unicrons for $200, and he was like, "I could sell these back home for 100+ pounds a piece because it's still cheaper than what I'm paying in the UK." He was buying Voyagers, and he was like buying every Voyager he could because it was like half the cost.
I don't blame him. Look, you know, people complain about $24.99 for a Voyager. Try paying $30 for a deluxe. Then you can complain.
Give it a couple more years.
Oh, well, one of the guys on TFYLP, Tobias, is in Sweden along with Gigabeetle, and he knows Gigabeetle. And I bought him Scorn at Toys R Us for $16.99, the only one I could find. At the time, there was no Scorns anywhere at all. Sent it to him, loose and complete, and it was still $10 US cheaper than him going down the street to his store in Sweden.
That's so insane.
You know, it's just.
Well, we're kind of getting that way with the masterpiece figures to an extent. I mean, you can get, you know, Bumblebee for like $50 shipped, or you can wait for Toys R Us to get it 2 years later. Not that they're going to get Bumblebee, but then it's going to be 70 or 80. So
right now, this is the best time to be buying from overseas.
Yeah,
I mean,
the exchange
got
rate is fantastic. The exchange rate's the best it's been in 10 years.
Yeah, I know. I mean, if you're into Kamen Rider, Super Sentai, Soul Chigoku, any of the big dollar lines,
tentacle porn.
Now, Ben, this is a family show.
This is post. This is after the show, so we can.
I know.
Yeah, but I mean,
Ryan's washing himself right now. That's
I
why
am.
well,
I'm on video for people,
I mean,
for anybody
I've got-
watching.
I got Bumblebee for 50 shipped. I got Ultra Magnus for 149 shipped from Hobbylink Japan.
Well, you know that the exchange rate also in the past year has really benefited us too. But you know, I keep thinking, you know, like I got Prowl, and that was another coupon foo purchase from Toys R Us, and I'm looking at them, and I'm like, and I'm looking at the Masterpiece box for Japan, and I'm like, why are they spending so much money on packaging? I mean, it's literally like twice the size, and I'm like, it's the same toy, and you can't see the toy in packaging, so there's no advantage to having him in robot mode in the packaging or expand it out, right?
It's all about shelf space.
Yeah,
and
so,
they want to justify that $70 price, so they'll put it in a bigger box.
And you know what? Here's the thing, guys. We know better, but there's plenty of people walking into Toys R Us who don't. Right, so they'll pay the $80 and they're counting on that. I wonder though, and I don't have any math to prove any of this, but I do wonder if the box was a little more reasonable, if it was in robot mode, like let's say it was in like retro packaging, like G1 flap on the top, retro packaging, but like a little bigger, obviously, because it's Masterpiece. I mean, and it was $55 or $59.99 versus $69 or whatever it was. You know, would that generate more sales? Because
well, heck, at one point you could have bought the Dragon Zord cheaper than Prowl.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
true,
yeah,
that's true.
The Dragon Zord actually got down to $49.99 at one point. So you could have bought a Legacy Dragon Zord that has more metal in it than the Prowl for $20 less.
Well, like right now, guys, I don't know about you guys. I'm having a really hard time justifying the price for the Year of the Goat stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
doing it. Not doing
I
it.
have a really
Optimus,
hard
though.
time
I
finding the
really
interest
want
in your
Optimus.
goat stuff.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, guys. It's not that I don't want the toys. It's that look, I got bills to pay.
I lost audio again.
You know. Oh, you
Here's
are.
audio.
You're back now.
Okay.
It cut out.
But you know,
Your
guys,
connection must have picked up.
I mean, we're all adults here. We all have bills to pay. We've got rent to pay. You know, in the mixture of my responsibilities, I can't justify 100. What is it? 60 something for Prime?
Yeah.
You know,
BBTS has them for $140.
I paid $30, I think, for Scourge in the RID line. So
Yeah,
I could justify it, but
$30
my
or
wife
$40.
can't.
well, well, wait, are we switching topics here? Okay. No, well, and here's the thing, guys. I get that they put the electronics back in. That's really cool. You know, that's awesome. But still, I keep thinking like the outer edge of my comfort zone is $99.99.
Yep.
And they're so way beyond that. You know.
Well, and let me ask you a different question. Let me ask you a different angle here, though. The Platinum Insecticon reissues. I mean, where are you on those? Because
Well,
like that's
here's the thing.
3 little tiny G1 toys that were $30, $40 5 years ago that are now $90 in fancier packaging.
Well, $80 at Kmart, but Kmart jacks their prices up to like obscene levels. I mean,
Yeah.
Kmart around Christmas wanted $19 for like a deluxe, and I was like,
Well,
I want what you're having.
Tankor was still $17.99 at my Kmart 2
Yeah.
weeks ago.
My understanding is the actual price that's set is supposed to be is around 55, which I'm okay with. The minute you go out of that range, I think it's like highway robbery. And of course, Hasbro doesn't set these prices; it's the retailer. But I think it might have been Robot Kingdom that was selling them. It was one of those guys. It wasn't big BBTS. It wasn't one of the big stores. It was one of the smaller ones. They were asking like 55, and then plus shipping, which I think is fair. Part of the reason I'm saying I think that's fair is there is die cast in there. The packaging is going to cost more because they had to commission the art, they have to print it up, they have to do the window box, and the Energon cubes. So I'm going to give them up to 55, 56.99, that range for it. 79.99, I can't bring myself to do it.
No, it's absurd. I mean, it's absolutely absurd.
Well, and I own G1 Insecticons. I own the Japanese reissue. I own the American reissue, and I own the Diaclone ones. So now, if Insecticons were incredibly rare, like you couldn't go on eBay and buy a horde right now if you wanted to, okay. But come on, guys, we could go on eBay and for $10 get all 3 of them right now, probably, from the 80s. So, but again, we're not. Are we really the target for that, or is it someone who doesn't know as much as we do, and who hasn't been?
Yeah, we're a
collecting?
little beyond the target for that.
Yeah.
Well, Ben, you were right. Toys R Us has Year of the Goat Prime at $180.
Yeah, jeez. Come on, $200.
You know what I'm surprised is the Starscream that was a Year of the whatever.
Yeah.
They didn't even clearance that out yet. It's still sitting on the
Year
shelf.
of the horse, was it?
That's because it's
Yeah.
Toys R Us.
It's
Toys
kind
R
of
Us
become
doesn't
part of the
clearance.
background at my Toys R Us. It's like the wallpaper.
Yeah. It's
And
like
then
we
every now
need
and
something
then-
to fill up the shelves. Don't clearance them out. They'll sit there forever.
The shelves will get dusty
It's
if
been-
we don't have this. And
It's
every
the
now
new
and then I look
Jeffrey
down and I'm
mural.
like, oh yeah, he's still there.
I think I actually moved one of the boxes, and you could actually see where to put it back because of all the dust that
You
was
saw,
around
like,
it.
dinosaur bones. You know what sucks though? It's not a bad toy. It's just the price.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I'm like, that's another. I do own it. I haven't opened it, but that is one of the coupon foo items. There's certain items. As soon as I see the price, example, Year of the Goat, right? As soon as I saw those prices on Toys R Us, BBTS, the first thing I thought was, okay, when's this thing going on clearance? Now, what I'm afraid of is that Starscream hasn't gone on clearance. So are these guys ever going on clearance?
Yeah, it's.
I don't know.
And see, that's one of the things about a lot of the third party stuff. Ben is, I've branched out into a lot of the third party, maybe more than I should. But it's the same thing. It's like, do you wait till it goes on clearance, or do you run to a situation where it's going to be one of those figures where you got your first run of figures, and then you're going to pay through the nose until they do another run, if they do another run. So, it's like, do I pick up Mad Law right now because it's an actually good-looking version of Quick Switch? Or do I wait and see if it goes on clearance in a year?
Fans Project's not going to go on clearance.
Yeah, Fans Project
Pick it up.
I'm just, as an example, but they made Quick Switch look good.
But that's the game we all play, right? I mean, with these higher end items, right? Anything like this where you think, let me wait on that. One of my more recent mistakes was when Japan did their own reissued deco on Primus in that black box with the blue outline, and I thought, that's going to go on clearance. Nope.
Hey Ben, question for you. I actually don't know this. What do you buy any third party stuff? Have you bought any third party stuff?
So I actually wrote an article on this on my site. Plug, whatever. But
BWTF.com.
But seriously, here's my perspective on third party, especially since we're off the air. Okay, I don't collect the third party stuff that it utilizes Hasbro IP. That's a very specific line, but it's my line. So Hercules, Green Giant, Mad Law, the one that Don was just talking about, I don't buy them. I do not judge people who do, though. I want to be very, clear about this. You like it, it's your money. Who am I to tell you how to spend it, right? You enjoy it. You're not hurting anyone. Plus, you're not going to hurt yourself. We're all adults here, right? Mm-hmm. Would I want you to buy it for your 5-year-old? No. Actually, that I would probably stop you right there.
That's potentially dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't put that in your mouth. You don't know where that paint came from.
Well, not just that. It could break and choke them.
Well, I've seen some very scary
it could
photos.
Stab them.
Of there was one. Oh, who was it? It was one of these one-off figures that I don't know which company made it, but literally I saw like 3 photos of it snapped in half, and the way the plastic was breaking, it was sharp, like it was forming like kind of a curve, like a little blade, and I was like, "Holy crap! I would never let a kid get near that."
You want sharp, Ben? The wheel covers to Salmore. These points will draw blood.
There you go. So that's my line. Now, have I ever bought third party? Yes. Now I'll tell you what third party toys I love and I want to see more of. The Glacial Lord from Fans Project.
I heard that didn't do too good for them. Well,
but my God, I love that thing.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about creating your own original character in the spirit of your target audience. Their marketing campaign behind it was great. Those faux animation cells they did.
Oh, and I love the Korean. The last one was the Korean box.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I mean, that was so brilliant. And I'm sorry to hear it didn't do well. Although, it's interesting to hear that because no one could find them for a while. So I thought they sold out.
Well, I was talking to the guys at TFCon, and they said, and I asked them about Glacial Lord if there would be a re-release of the figures in a set, because at the time I couldn't swing them with everything else I had going on. They said, we're not looking at reissuing them right now. We might in the future. They didn't do as well for us as we had wanted, so we're looking at other
so
things
bizarre
right
to me.
now.
Because when I got my set, first of all, they previewed them at BotCon one year, right? They had a limited number of a couple of the limbs, and those sold out. And Vangelis reviewed them that year as soon as he got home. Then they released the rest via pre-order, and I got into a pre-order for a couple of those, and in the final pieces, I had a buddy. They were at TFCon actually, and he said that their table was mobbed. Now I had 3 friends looking for Glacial Lord for me that day. The first one, who literally was there at the crack of dawn, he got it. Another friend of mine got there by noon. He said they were completely sold out. So it's just interesting for me to hear it didn't do as well. Now I wonder if that also means it cost them more. Like the cost of making it wasn't worth what they made off of it. I think that may be another way we can interpret that. But it's a shame because it's such a brilliant concept. The little brain master, the play on being a brain master, it was so G1 retro design. You could put these guys next to your G1 figures, and they looked like they belonged there. But they were entirely a fiction that they made up themselves. That was the brilliance of them, and I would support anything like that.
I kind of wonder myself if
You know,
the retailers were part of the problem with the Glacial Lords because
Hmm.
they weren't an original thing. They weren't Transformers rehashes, and so they didn't have the same kind of popularity driving them from the perspective of the
They
retailer.
weren't weird
like-
copies.
Like everybody I know who has these, like the people who love these love the hell out of these. The people who don't get it just never bought any because they don't get it because they want weird copies.
I do want.
I wonder
guess.
if that's part of the problem.
Yeah, I guess I want weird copies. I just I didn't see the appeal to it. I mean,
You're not as old as we are, though. That's
Well,
the
yeah, I
thing.
was going to ask.
I
mean, were you? But were you a hardcore G1 collector?
oh yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
So, did you ever see these up close, or did you just see photos?
Photos and reviews. I never. I've kind of like I've gone to conventions and someone had them there, and
Okay.
I glanced over them real quick, but never really
I guess
manipulated them or anything.
I guess part of it is how nostalgic are you for that era of design? Because if you don't have that nostalgia deep seated, you won't find them that appealing.
I think I lost that nostalgia because everyone knows, or I've said it on the podcast a couple of times, like what got me back into Transformers was the G1 reissues.
Mhm.
When I heard Toys R Us was doing the G1 reissues, that's when I started going back into a toy store that I haven't been into in years. And then I'm not sure if it was the G1 reissues or the alternators, which one came first, but it was one of those. And then the other line started, and I was like, oh, I love this too. So I started getting that. And I think as the alternators were starting to die out, that's when the classics started. And I started getting into the classics, and I really liked how they were redoing, all the G1 characters
Be right
in
back,
these, new, more sophisticated molds. And I think that's what. And then I started looking at my G1 reissues, and I was like, these classics are so much better than my G1 reissues. So.
Well,
I agree with Ben that it's more interesting when they start making like their original stuff, even if it's in the style of, but still like expressing their own creativity. And like this is something Vangelis has observed on a lot of occasions in the last couple of years. Like the stuff these third party companies are putting out that is like notionally, this but new. The designs are so removed from the original that it's very clear, okay, these people want to be designing their own original stuff, but they're piggybacking on the Transformers ideas because that's what will actually move the units and make them the money. So maybe they can in the future, do original stuff with the money they've made in that process.
well,
Like
it's-
Steel Core, that was a good example. I think that was successful.
Oh, yeah.
And well, for me, Hearts of Steel, Cyclops, Shockwave. I mean, I know that was kind of a IP thing, but he only existed in a drawing in the back of the IDW book. He wasn't actually ever going to be made. And they took just that concept drawing and gave us a dual paddle wheel ironclad Shockwave. And the thing is, yes, it's a little scary to transform with the way the hull is, but it is visually an outstanding piece.
Too bad it doesn't float.
It doesn't float. Fail. But I bought Utopia, Ben, because Utopia. I know again.
Oh, is that where you're living now?
Yeah, Utopia.
And his
But,
cat's living in the box. So
Yeah,
works
I
out.
gave the box to Massey. But to me, that is a better update version of Metroplex than the Generations one. Just because if I want a good looking update to Metroplex, the Generations one just did not do it for me. But again, like you said, it's personal preference.
Well, it's personal preference, and you guys have to remember, I have a unique perspective on this that, and this is not an indictment on anyone. This is just statement of fact is I have a very close relationship to a lot of people who either work or have worked at Hasbro. They're not just a source of information for me, or those Hasbro team people, they're friends. You know, I'm friends with them on Facebook. We've chatted about personal stuff before. I've had dinner with them, you know, and if you had a friend that worked on, let's say, a comic book, let's divorce this from toys, a comic book, and it was very successful and it was about a superhero team, and then some other guy started doing a comic book, basically copying all that guy's ideas, but just renaming them a little, changing a color here. This guy gets a cape, whereas that guy had a cape, and then he sells it. You'd be a little like, oh, what's that bum doing? You know, you're messing with my friend's work over here. So that's a little bit about, you know, where my attitude with 3P comes from. It's because I'm watching the work that my friends do being leached off of with someone who's being very disingenuous. I find the fake names very disingenuous. I find, you know, the not hyphen whatever a lot more accurate, like not scrapper, not devastator. You know, I think that's actually more accurate, you know. But I'm not going to deny that these things have a lot of artistry behind them. They are really well done. They are really, really impressive. But now what I want to see, Steel Core is a great example of kind of a more modern figure. It shows what they can do. And I wish that they would turn those skills, those considerable skills, towards something of their own, instead of just leeching off someone else's IP. You know, so that's kind of partly my perspective on it, and it's not one that anyone else is going to share, right? I mean, I literally am probably one of maybe 3 people in all of Transformers fandom who would have that perspective. So,
I mean, I kind of agree. One of the things that Mark Webber said last year at Toy Fair, which I thought was really great, you know, not that Hasbro is doing a bad job, because they're not. They're, especially in the last couple of years, they've been doing a lot better. But Mark Webber said, you know, if Hasbro was doing, you know, if we're doing our job properly, those third-party companies wouldn't exist. And to an extent, I kind of agree with that, you know. And the Masterpiece line is a good testament to that, because I don't know anyone who buys third-party figures that doesn't buy the Masterpiece line, because it's basically right around the same price point. I mean, you look at Soundwave, he was roughly $150, and then you look at DX9's third-party Astro Train that's coming out, and that thing's right around $150. So it's right in the same price range and about the same size figure. So there is something to be said there, you know, for that particular price range.
oh yeah, totally
Something
agree.
I want to see more is like not figures, but you know, the accessories and the modification parts to complement the stock figures and enhance them. I mean, that's where third party really got its main start, and I'd kind of like to see it cycle back around to that, because there's stuff that does need the help.
Like this
You know,
Devastator that's coming out, that will, I guarantee there'll be at least
There'll be all kinds of third party
upgrade
stuff
kits for that. Yeah.
There will be all kinds of stuff for that, but like some of the stuff can't really be helped, because like it is something I figured out even from the pictures from Germany. Like Devastator's arms connect to Long Haul, and when we got the stock photos, I was able to figure out like Long Haul's forearms flip backwards to make the sockets for that. And if you remove that part, it's not going to work correctly. Like, to give Long Haul, for just the one example, functioning arms in the conventional sense, someone would have to completely re-engineer the entire piece so it would still have that function, still hold solidly in the combined mode, and then do the extra function you want. And Scrapper's even worse, because that's got to hold up everything above it. You know, there's what?
I was going to say, I haven't even had a chance to look at the stock photos. I'm sure Ben understands.
Oh, the irony. No, there was a lot of stuff where I actually remember being at the Devastator table. I made myself stay there and look at it, because my instinct at Toy Fair is to photo, run.
Yep.
And I actually made myself stay there because I knew Devastator would get a lot of attention. I knew people would be asking me questions about it. And I also had to see if there were any questions I wanted to ask the team about it. But I totally get what you mean. If you don't make yourself stand in one place. You just keep kind of running from place to place, taking photo after photo, and by the time you're done, like there's dust on all around you swirling. So yeah, I totally get it. But you're right, and I should append with my third party rants before. I have no problem with any third party add-on that requires you to own the official product. I have zero issue with those.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's like City Commander is pretty much the one that started it all. I mean, I know Unicron.com had some before then, and they had the Cliffjumper add-on kit. But I think the City Commander armor is the one thing everyone goes back to. Is this is what made us take a look at what this stuff can do.
I agree.
Yeah. Hello, silly butt.
Oh my goodness, it's messy. So what about like a third party Target Master when it is obviously the Target Master character, but it goes with
Yeah, that's a weird line for me. I'm actually split on that because it's obviously it's Optimus Prime as a head or whatever, right? But at the same time, you can't do a whole heck of a lot with it without a figure to hold it or a figure for its head to become it's a cat.
Yeah.
Or there's like the Master Shooter figures.
Yeah.
Which are the self-contained Target Masters, which they're in the style and the colors of, but they don't necessarily share like the design detailing.
I noticed that. Yeah.
They're their own self-contained little figures that can become guns for practically anybody, but at the same time they're still relying on this or that idea.
I was thinking specifically of what was it, Sidearm? Was it?
Yeah, I've got one of those around here. Well, I've got Blesser here, but same difference.
Is that like the Starscream that becomes a gun or something like that?
No. Okay, so Fans Project did Sidearm, which was Firebolt.
Okay.
And then when the tsunami hit Japan, they did a run in reversed colors.
Right.
They would give you as a gift if you donated money to the relief funds.
That's right.
So I ended up with one of those, but never a normal sidearm.
I have the normal. That was the first third-party item I bought.
I remember.
Yeah, I'm not really so much into the third-party stuff, but like when Aaron came around and basically said what he said at TFCon, I felt a little better about it. I like how he called it weird copies, but he also had I use that all the time now because I think that's a great description of them. But when he basically said that if Hasbro is giving the product that fans want, there wouldn't be a need for it. And he's sort of come around on it. Of course, also he's kind of working in that space now. But I feel a little
and the way
better
I
about
understood it too is that the way I understood it is Rick Alvarez, for one, had really been working on Aaron to reconsider and look at it from a different perspective too, and not everything is good and okay, but there's value and validity to some of what's going on out there.
And I was adamantly against third-party stuff. I would buy a little bit of it just for. I
remember.
Yeah, I was pretty openly anti-third-party, but I feel a little better about it now. And I've bought a few things I think are really great. Do I think that it beats Hasbro's official product? Not really. I mean, I'm comparing Code here. It's not a fair comparison, but Code here to Springer. And if I had to say which one is better, it's obviously Springer. And Springer was a quarter the price or a third the price. So, I mean, but, of course, this was a 2012, 2013 toy. This was a 2014. I mean, there's a, Springer trumps Code.
And the way I look at it, some ways too, is I'm personally not hurting Hasbro because even if I wasn't buying third party, I would still buy the same amount of Hasbro product that I did, while I was buying third party. And honestly, if anything had to be cut out of my budget first, it would be the third party before the Hasbro stuff.
There's a lot of people who take the inverse approach to that. They basically forsaken all of the Hasbro Takara stuff.
Absolutely, there are.
Yeah.
They only buy third party.
But again, it's also what I was saying earlier. Part of that is because the scarcity now versus later debate. Because there's a good chance in 6 months you'll still be able to find a Silverbolt. in 6 months will you find
Well, no,
X or Y?
It's not even just that. They consider, for whatever reasons, whether or not I agree with it, they consider third party the superior product. Thus, that's where they decide to put their money.
And that's a blanket statement that just irritates me because there's so much crap out there.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of crap.
Yeah, Sonic Wave. I don't know.
Well,
Chronos.
Chronos,
but but at that point, is it about the toys anymore, or is it about some odd sense of entitlement? Right? Is it about how many times have we seen some variation on the phrase Hasbro owes us? They owe us nothing
every day.
Oh, well now.
It's all part and parcel of consuming habits as identity, which is one of the biggest problems probably in the entire country right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'll take Jetfire. When Hasbro showed us Jetfire, I felt so lucky that they were doing a character that I really wanted in a scale that I really like as a leader class figure. That's how I felt. I didn't feel like, God, it's about time Hasbro finally gave us this.
Now, I mean, I was talking to Rob briefly on Twitter earlier in the week, and I had mentioned something. He said, Hasbro wouldn't be making this if they didn't think they can make money. So it's not just they're doing it for the fans; they're doing it because they see a way to make profit. And I was saying that to all the fans that are complaining and moaning about this thing, they didn't have to make it. I'm sure there was a plan B that they could have taken those dollars to create this Devastator and give us more Luke Skywalkers. And they could have made just as much money on those variations of Luke Skywalker as they could have on the Devastator.
More Dino Sparkers.
So I mean, I'm not saying Hasbro's this big, warm, fuzzy, Snuffleupagus is going to give out hugs and candy. But you're giving us an awesome Devastator, 6 Voyager figures. There's going to be a few things wrong with it here and there. Elbows, I don't care. I was born in G1. Elbows are a luxury. I don't have to have them.
Back in my
elbows are a luxury.
Back in my day, we had shoulder joints, and we liked it.
So
those are a privilege, not a right.
Yeah.
Now, did anyone ever really even think that we'd get a Titan class combiner figure? Because when we got Metroplex, they hinted that yes, we may do another Titan class figure.
And we all
Metro Titan.
We all figured like Trypticon or maybe
Well, people kept saying Trypticon. I never thought that was going to happen.
Even Omega Supreme or something like that.
Dinosaur with platform shoes add-on.
Or a weird redeco of Metroplex.
Yeah, exactly.
Metroplex in gray and called Trypticon.
Yeah,
or actually, a shattered glass kind of version where he's in Trypticon colors.
The interesting thing is, overall, in terms of what we're talking about, it's a false comparison to compare Hasbro to 3P. And I know that sounds very counterintuitive, but can anyone name who the CEO of any of the 3P companies are? Does anyone know who their creative director is? Does anyone know who their marketing director is?
He has a fantasy club.
I mean, their first, last names, titles, where are their public profiles? Where's the Fans Project, public profile about the company and what their earnings and so on? You know what? They don't have that. Why? They're not publicly traded. In fact, they're not anything. They just kind of exist in this weird ether online, right? Hasbro, publicly traded company, thousands of employees, commitments to licenses and contracts outside of themselves, like Paramount and so on, right? You cannot compare, long haul to not long haul and say they're one-to-one equivalents. They are not.
And like you were saying before, also the comparison of having to adhere to safety regulations or not.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I mean, someone tried to argue with me online, and he got pretty heated about it, that the safety regulations were irrelevant. When comparing
to sell a toy in the U.S., I think that's pretty relevant.
Yeah, but
if it wasn't irrelevant, why were we going to have to get safety Megatron just to get them reissued?
But you
and
see
that
my
didn't even
point.
work.
It's not a fair one-to-one comparison. You can't compare a toy that literally has gone through no safety testing. We don't even know what the paint's made out of, okay? And, there's no records of this. if you were to file a Freedom of Information Act and go to Hasbro and say, I want to know what the government results of your safety testing were, you could probably get it as a reporter.
I'm
right?
sure you could get an MSDS sheet if you wanted it.
Try to do that with Fans Project. See what you get. I'd like to see the results of that. You know, and I'm so not like, I'm not anti third party company. What I am anti is fans who make a disingenuous comparison 1-to-1 of a 3P product versus a Hasbro product. Hasbro has 10 times more stuff to worry about when they make a toy than any third party product does. You know, and let me tell you, I work in a publicly traded company. We hear every year, our shareholders want more. Our shareholders want more. I don't think any of the third-party guys are dealing with that pressure.
Yeah, I work at the corporate office of a Fortune 500 company that is quite a bit bigger than Hasbro, and the reason stuff it's not easy to make stuff happen. It's third-party companies. Oh, they can have an idea for a toy, they can spend a couple nights working on the design, and they can spit something out, and there's no oversight, there's no quality control, there's no investors. It's some really talented there's some really talented person without any restraints whatsoever. So of course some of the stuff is going to be brilliant, but you know, I'd like to see them with the same constraints do a Springer.
Well, think about it too, because like in 2009 or so, we got Warbot Defender, which was Fans Project's answer to there's no Springer toy out there. Yeah. And Generation Springer, yes, it's a few years later when it was designed, but it absolutely in every way blows Warbot Defender away.
Absolutely.
It is a completely superior toy.
Well, it was either last year or year before, Ben, you might remember, one of the Hasbro's reps said that we can do all the stuff that third parties can do. We just need a little more time to do it. Now I can't remember. Yeah, I mean I can't remember if that was in like at the Hasbro booth, if it was in one of the panels or something. But basically, you know, that's what we're seeing now. I think is it took them time to get to this point where they can mass produce these figures. But like you said, Chris, look at the quality of this Superion in Wave 1.
Yeah.
It's a Wave 1 figure, and look how good it is.
The way I look at it, the podcast, it's a hobby. I pay for it out of pocket. If I can make my money back through a couple of ads, great.
Ow, 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 ow.
Awesome, Massey. But you know what? You know, if this were a company, I'd have certain things I'd have to worry about. I'd have to worry about payroll. I'd have to worry about margin. I don't. So the sky's the limit. Mm-hmm. It's the third party stuff. It's a hobby for these people. They're passionate about it, but they don't have to worry about margin. They have to worry about it to an extent, but not to the extent that Hasbro does.
You know, I buy a few third party like complete figures, like especially Fans Project's Function X, their Headmaster series. Partly because when I bought Code, I was so impressed with the way it's engineered that like I wanted to get more stuff done in this style. I don't buy a lot of these; they're expensive. I don't have a lot of money to throw into this, so like you know, it's a hobby within the hobby because I appreciate the design. But at the same time, like real Hasbro Transformers are more fun.
Way more fun.
Like they are just they are more fun. They're cheaper. They're more readily available, and you know. Overall, I enjoy them more. The third-party stuff, for the most part, to me, is like even full figures. It's a supplemental thing. It fills a hole until there is the official option, in which case I switch over to that.
And not universally true, mostly true. I am always way more worried about breaking a third-party toy than a Hasbro product.
Yeah.
Occasionally, I have broken a Hasbro product. But
but you were drunk at the time.
Yes, but no, it's just
or five.
But the third
or
party
last week, whatever.
The third party stuff, though, if it costs 5 times as much, I'm going to be way more careful with it.
Well, I mean, what are you going to be more freaked out about if you broke Code over there, or if you broke Strong Arm?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I don't think I could break Strong Arm if I tried.
You know,
I mean, I would have to like really
I have
put
faith
some
in you,
effort into breaking Strong Arm.
Chris, I'm absolutely sure you could break Strong Arm if you tried. I have faith in you.
I'd have to put effort into it though, and like with third-party stuff, I feel like okay, if I just turn this the wrong way at the wrong time, something's going to break here. Strong arm, yeah, the plastic might stress a little bit, and I have to watch it in the future, but I have to actually like try to break
Well,
strong arm.
I will say, with Glacial Lord, I haven't taken every one of them out yet, just because of time. But the couple that I have taken out, I've been very delicate with them. I don't trust the plastic has the same tolerance as an Age of Extinction figure or an RID figure. It just, you know how the plastic flexes a little when you're transforming official stuff? It doesn't have that same flex, and it worried me a little. So I was very gentle with them because they cost me a pretty penny. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
Well, I will say, Ben, Fans Products is probably one of the more respected companies because they've been doing it so long. So, of all the companies that you could buy, you probably have the least to worry about with the Fans project. You're still right for playing it safe, but just
You know what I want though? This is what I want. I don't know why this has not happened yet. I want them to like go with like the government model or like the Microsoft model on this. You can't beat these guys. Just buy them out, take over all their designs. It's yours anyway, really, and just make the damn things and use their facilities to do it. Use their standards to do it. Now that goes back to what Brian said. If they did that, would any of their stuff be able to hold up to the child safety standards? Would any of their stuff hold up to the cost model? No. You'd be paying like $800 for that Predaking instead of $600 probably.
And the other thing, like, there's a really basic thing too that delineates a Hasbro toy from a third-party toy, which is rounded edges.
Yeah.
Because every Hasbro toy, every major toy you get in the United States from a major manufacturer, they are tooled, they're designed where edges are just slightly rounded, so you don't get pointy things digging into your hands, your face, your eyes, whatever, depending how bad you are at motor coordination. But like every third-party thing I've ever handled, every corner, every edge, every point is sharp. It hurts when you touch it, and I've literally heard of people drawing blood off a toy just because they handle it without
I got
care.
scratched by that Diaclone Magnus, this die stack I've got. It's got every edge on it sharp, and I definitely got a nice scrape on my arm from it.
I'm sure that would have
really
tested perfect.
Yeah.
That is a really basic thing, though, that a lot of people don't think about that distinguishes, a toy that meets safety regulations in the United States and one of these things.
Oh, but you see, when you bring this, everything we just said in the last 5 minutes, you bring this up in a thread on Facebook with a bunch of hardcore 3P fans, they're just going to tell you you're just a Hasbro apologist. You're just making excuses for them. Everything you're saying is BS. And I've been told
that's why I don't talk to Scale Face.
Yeah, at that point, I just have to exit the argument. Because I'm like, okay, you're not looking to have a honest intellectual conversation about this topic. You just want to bash your opinion into my head, which is very different.
You're pushing your
agenda.
They are doing they're doing what, or they think you're doing what they are doing, which is pushing their agenda and trying to conform you to what they think, rather than actually have a conversation and exchange ideas and consider both sides.
More to the point, like I said before, they've gotten to the point, they've gotten so obsessed with this and so involved with it that this has become a part of their identity, and an attack on it is an attack on who they are, and there's no point in even having the conversation at that point.
I mean, someone said it a little while ago that, I don't remember which one of you it was, but, it's become dogma.
Yeah, yeah. Agreed. And what's scary about it, though, is how aggressive they get. I mean, emotionally aggressive.
Yeah.
And that's the point where I know I have to step back, because then I start getting upset. And it reminds me of those old Flame Wars we were talking about on ATT with Beast Wars versus G1. Yeah. And I just that's not something I want to go back to. I grew out of that. I have way too much going on in my life right now to get into that.
The last thing any of us need is more drama.
Yeah, I mean, if you're 16 years old and that's all you've got, then I feel sorry for you.
If you're 40 years old and that's all you've got, like some individuals. I was observing on Twitter last night that maybe I'm weird, but like when I go to a forum or any conversational system to talk about my hobby stuff, I want to see people enjoy the hobby stuff. Yeah. Like that's the kind of interaction I want to have, whether it's something I personally enjoy or not. The only thing I really want to see is other people being positive, upbeat, enjoying what they're doing. I don't like seeing people that are negative about everything, and like no matter what it is, they can't do anything but find fault. I think at that point, the hobby has lost its meaning, and you need to stop and like get some distance, and then I need to get distance just to not be around that.
Which is why I want this podcast to not be a bitch fest.
I agree with you. I want to listen to positive. I listen to positive podcasts. I don't. If I listen to a podcast and they're like bashing on stuff a lot, I stop listening to it.
Yeah.
But what? It's an interesting point you brought up, Chris, because I go to some of these forums or Facebook threads, and I would be very cool with, let's say, a 3P forum where everyone's just like, oh, check out the detail on this guy. I love him so much, and he looks like the cartoon model jumped into my hands. I'd be very cool with that. I almost never see that. What I do see is, this is so much better than that Hasbro crap, right? That's what I see all the time.
Well, Hasbro sucksores, so...
Sucksores, yes. And it's like, why does your appreciation for something have to take the form of hate for something else?
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
If they're trying to justify it, I guess it's,
But why do you need to justify it? Right?
Exactly.
Exactly.
I mean, it's just, I guess, Ben, you and I and Brian have been in this so long, and we remember back when all this wasn't a thing.
Yep.
And we've seen it go down. Huh?
Well, he's younger than we are. He did come on like way earlier on in his life than we did.
So I mean, we've seen it go downhill to the point where it's like all these people that are bashing robots in disguise. It's a simplified toy for kids. The animation the show is going to reflect the toy. It's going to be simpler. It's going to be a little less heavy than Prime, and watch it before you judge it. You can't judge anything from 4 or 5, 15.
Again.
That's okay.
Weird.
Okay. It's like you can't judge anything based on 4 or 5 15-second clips, a little bit of early animation, and what the toys look like. So be quiet. Watch the show. If you don't like the toys,
you need to put that quote in whatever post that you're putting for this podcast.
Yeah. It's like, be quiet. If you don't like the toys, that's fine. You've bought the toys or you've looked at the toys, you have a judgment about those, that's fine. Yeah. The show has not even aired yet. All we have seen is snippets. Watch it, then make your decision.
And honestly, I'm sorry.
I think the snippet we saw with the Minicons popping out and being used as weapons, that looked really cool. Like, I'm excited to watch RID.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people didn't like animated with the way it looked, and then it wound up being one of the tightest storylines.
Those people were wrong.
We've ever had.
I was one of those people. I didn't like when they were going the animated route, and I refused to watch it. I refused to embrace it. I bought the box set because I've recently come around, and everyone says it's really good. So eventually, when I have time, I'm gonna watch it because I bought the box set.
I like it.
Yeah, that's just the one thing I hate that every fandom that I've seen through my
jump
years.
To prejudgment.
Everyone is jumping to prejudgment. It's like with Digimon. Everyone's already judging. Well, I can't say Adventures 03 because with the wheel will kill me. Adventures Try coming out. Everyone's always judging it by the artwork that we.
Wait, is that why I just saw a whole bunch of new Digimon product?
Yep. Yeah.
It's also an anniversary year, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Basically, the new anime is supposedly maybe a sequel to 02. We're not sure. It's just. But anyway, I've seen all these fandoms jump to based on the smallest snippet of information, they're making these massive jumps. Spock would slap you for these jumps in life.
I'll tell you though.
I'm tired of it.
You know what? I've had plenty of fans come up to me already and say, Ben, I bought a couple of RID figures. I just can't get into it. I don't like the aesthetic. It's just not my. I don't know these characters. I'm like, yeah, okay. But you got to give them a lot of credit for at least giving it a shot.
Yeah,
sure. Oh yeah.
And honestly, you know, I feel like if you look at the clips, if you look at the toys, and you decide, okay, this doesn't look like something I'd like, that's fine. But to go and say this is going to be bad, this is going to be horrible, that's going too far.
Although, come on, guys, there's a bit of funny irony in like a 30-something-year-old man saying, "Oh, this line that's aimed at the 5 to 9-year-old demographic, it's not for me."
Yeah.
You don't say.
You know, and you can take that a little further too, because think, you know, your 4-year-old, your 5-year-old, you put a plate of vegetables in front of them, they're probably going to turn their nose at it.
Yeah.
So then you get to 35, 40,
Yeah.
you put a kid's toy line in front of them, they're going to turn their nose at it.
Yeah.
There's this like interesting symmetry that really amuses me.
Yeah.
But like, I really like Hasbro's approach with RID, media-wise, and how they've approached the toy line, because like they've got the Warrior stuff out there to try to bridge to us. Like, it'll appeal to the older kids too, but you know, there's also a little bit in it for the older adult collector also.
The Warrior scale.
You know, something for us to hold on to and like play the way we are interested in. But there's also, you know, 1-step, 3-step. There's the Legion stuff.
Legion stuff is all I need.
But like, you know, they're making sure everything is covered. Everybody has access to this at whatever level is appropriate for them, whatever level they can handle. And I mean, I really like that approach to this. And you know, there's generations for the older set too. Yeah.
And I really do appreciate that they have made the Warrior class a separate thing and not tried to work it into generations, because you know there would be people going crazy waiting for Combiner Wars stuff.
Yeah.
Well, also, you know, they even renamed the class.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, they deliberately made that delineation. It's actually interesting you brought that up. I'm actually working on an article series, and I just dropped an accessory. I'm working on an article series that was inspired by a thread that was on Facebook where someone put a picture of Mega Optimus Prime from RID, and he just put the word "Y" over it, like this was, you know, crime against humanity.
I saw that.
Okay, so you saw my response
yes,
to
I
that
did.
thread, right?
Yes.
So,
I think I responded to that too, actually.
So what I'm doing, Brian, is I'm basically taking that like 3-paragraph response I gave in there, and I'm turning it into an article series, expanding on the idea. And the idea is that people seem to think this is a new thing. That you know, simplified.
What, that they're making toys for kids?
Well, and specifically for like preschoolers, you know, and I realized that half this fandom is probably Armada babies or movie 2007 babies, right?
Yeah.
So they probably don't even. Let's forget my first Transformers. Okay, let's not even go that far back. Let's just go with Go Bots. They probably don't even know those exist. Mm-hmm. You know,
right.
or Rescue Roy. Right?
Oh my God! Can you imagine showing them all the stuff from the past? And then
that's what I'm going to do. So in this article,
right.
I want popcorn. I want popcorn in the front row seat for that.
The first part of the article is going to explain how, from the 70s into the early 2000s, the action figure market has fragmented, and let's face it, it has. I mean, even before, I would say around the 90s, late 90s, when McFarlane Toys was kind of in its glory. When you had all these upstart little companies coming up, that the market was already fragmenting at that point. And we're 15 years beyond that now, 20 years actually. And look, a kid can pick up a tablet now and play a free game that will keep him occupied for hours. Mm-hmm. How do you compete with that? How do you make the parent get in the car in the cold weather, drive to Toys R Us for a half hour, pick up a toy, bring it back to the kid? Potentially have the kid throw a tantrum in the Toys R Us, right? All that. Or you could shut them up with a free app on your iPad, which you own anyway. I mean, there's a segment of the market now that the 80s counterparts of the current Hasbro team never had to deal with. And that's the reality I want to bring. So the first part is fragmentation. Second part is how did Transformers handle this before? And it's going to kind of bullet point it, but show pictures, my first Transformers, go bots. And you know what? One-step changers, that's not new. We called them jump starters.
Yeah.
I mean,
also activators.
Yeah. I mean, three-step changers, I called them spy changers.
Yeah.
I'd say throttle bots are pretty close.
Yeah, fast action battlers, So I want to show some of this lineage that, you know, Mega Optimus Prime actually has a lineage going back 30 years. And a lot of people rightfully pointed out that he's basically the descendant of Star Convoy in design. And you know, let's face it, Star Convoy, not hard to transform.
I mean, he's like super articulated, and he is so amazing. Such a great toy.
And
Such
I
a great
love
toy.
Star Convoy. I have this very weird affection for that series because I think there's just something so wonderfully bizarre about a robot that literally just like his gut explodes and it slams on the floor and he's transformed.
I bought it for Hot Rodimus. I dropped $400 on that just to get that Hot Rodimus.
I mean, and you know, Grandis, come on, Grandis is amazing.
A coffee table.
He is a coffee table, and I love him.
I've got Dagbase, and it's the same thing.
I mean, come on. Look, the fact that Sky Gary is probably the most articulated and playable out of the three of them, I mean, that just says it all.
That's true. I never thought about that.
And I love all three of them because they're so like, someone was on something when they designed these. Someone was just like in a smoke-filled room with like a 6-pack of beer and was like, all right, you know what'd be great? So Prime turns into a base and his head's just like there and his arms are just here. And it's okay because his legs are over there. You know?
And then after 20 years, his treads are over there.
You know, I mean, God, if Star Convoy never existed and you tried to put him out now, people would lose their minds.
Oh, yeah. See, Bean, that's one thing. Every time I fill out the BotCon survey, I've always asked for Hasbro to go back, or maybe for FunPub, if the molds exist, the UK Transformer molds, the Trachions, the Lightformers, Turbo Masters. That stuff did not get used a lot compared to the rest of the series.
I would buy the Predators and
and it's like
new decals.
But when I'm brainstorming, no pun intended, with the people I'm rooming with that year,
I see what you did there.
Yeah, you know, they always say, no, we don't want that. We don't want things with no articulation. I'm thinking, you don't understand. You don't have to have articulation out the wazoo.
Well, we also have
you have these molds.
What?
And these molds have got to be reused at some point, or they'll be lost forever.
I hate to say it, but you know, the generation we're talking about here is not even the generation that came after us. It's the two generations that came.
I know. It's just
their generation that was not brought up to imagine. Their generation was brought up with everything they were supposed to imagine served up to them on a platter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I explained to a friend of mine, you know, I was trading copies. I've mentioned this before. I was trading Legend Kmart Bumblebees for VHS copies of Master Force and Victory, and he won't watch something that's not high definition
because it's not on a platter.
It's not just that. It's just he knows he can get it better at some point, and he's willing to wait. But these toys from the past won't last forever. These molds will not last forever. And if we don't get these molds used soon and get them back out and get the Turbo Masters. I mean, Ben, you've got some Turbo Masters, don't you? I thought you had a couple.
No, I got them all.
Yeah, I mean, so I mean, who cares if they don't have 5 points regulation? The toys themselves are solid toys, but everyone wants new toys as those characters, not those toys.
Do you guys remember the old Kenner Star Wars commercials, which usually consisted of like a kid like playing in his backyard with the action figures? Yeah. I just watched one when I was researching for the article that I'm writing, and it was literally Empire Strikes Back. It was Luke and Han going to Cloud City to get Lando's help.
Oh yeah.
Cloud City was a pile of rocks in their backyard. Luke and Han were in their Hoth gear going to Cloud City, and you know what? As a kid, I didn't give a damn. That made perfect sense to me. Oh yeah, you know, the heroes are asking the other hero for help. It didn't matter that, you know, but if you were to look at the same commercial now, I'm sure they would CG a Cloud City in, and it would look just like the movie and everything. And I'm just like, wow, what a contrast. You know, and kids don't want to imagine a thing now. So Star Convoy, back to our example, as his base. Now, when I looked at it, this is back in 90 whatever when he came out. This is how I looked at it as a kid. I was a teenager at the time. He reminded me a lot of like ancient
like Egyptian buildings or something, like the Sphinx or whatever. He was almost like this this Transformers version of a Sphinx, but as a functioning battle base, who kind of had this effigy of the greatest Autobot leader of all time made in its image, except it really was him. I mean, back then I didn't think of it as the most amazing ego trip ever, but I kind of see it as that now. I mean, holy crap! I'm not in disguise. You live in me. But who cared? And Grandis, I mean, yeah, of course his head had to stick out. It had all the radar dishes on it, and they spun around. If you tuck his head in, how would they spin around? I mean, worked for me. So there's something that's been lost, but it's not just us. Look, I'm sure Power Rangers fans have a very similar discussion going on in their fandom. But you know what I always say though? At the end of the day, just be glad you're not a Joe fan right now.
Yeah.
That's a really solid philosophy, Ben.
We've said that a couple times on the show, definitely.
Yeah.
Those poor guys. I know a couple hardcore Joe fans, and I feel like I just pet them on the head.
The couple hardcore Joe fans.
They're there. It'll
And
get.
if you're a Joe fan, don't worry. It could be worse. You could be a Gundam fan.
Yeah.
Well, the Joe fans,
I
I
think
think,
Gundam fans
least.
still have
look
stuff out of
forward to
Japan.
Well, at least the Gundam fans can import stuff. The Joe
That's
fans,
a good point.
Well, the
it's-
Joe
it's
fans
I think
import.
Gundam fans are looking at Joe fans and saying, "Well, at least we're not them."
We're not that. Yeah.
and one thing I've always said, and I'm sure I'm not the only, and I've heard y'all say it too. If I ever get to the point where, as a collector, I start acting like a Hot Wheels fan, someone needs to shoot me
Well, you still
We
shower,
will.
right?
Don't worry. we will.
because I'll have lost my mind.
No. I mean, Don, as long as you're still showering and shaving and showing up for work, I think you're okay.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Dudes,
As long as you're not calling into work late because it's like, new stock day at the
Yes.
store and
The
you need to
problem
throw in the
is,
open
I would be working where the new stock would be, so that really wouldn't work out all that well.
well, that's just kind of
Actually, that's even better though, because you can just say, "Can I clock in 10 minutes later? I gotta go dig through this
Right.
stuff before."
just do what Toys R Us does and never take it out of the back.
Oh,
That's
there you go.
Yeah.
No, guys, I once in two different Toys R Us's. I rented two different Hot Wheels guys. They freaked me the hell out. Not the same guy, two different guys. One was in Brooklyn, one was in Jersey, and the bathing thing. I wasn't kidding about that. And one guy, his approach was he got a cart, and he literally just took everything that was on the shelf and dumped it into the cart.
Yes.
And then he and his girlfriend, wife, I don't know, hired slave, just were literally going through every single one and then slowly putting them back on the hook.
Oh,
And
At
when
least
I
they were putting them back on the hook.
Yeah, but when I got near him, the look he gave me, it was like a starving animal had found a piece of meat and it thought I was going to take it from him.
my cart.
Yeah, I've seen that look in my cat, so I know the look.
Yeah, I've seen them in stores. Now, luckily, most all the ones that come to where I work are the better tier. Some of them are pretty nice, but I have been in stores where I have literally seen them pull them off the carts, go through them, and leave the cart still full.
Right. Now you're just being an ass.
So Ben, you remember BotCon 2010 when we were able to get in for free in the Hot Wheels convention? Did you go to that?
I wandered through that. Yeah.
Most depressing day of my life. And I've lost both my parents, and that was so much worse.
I mean, it was just what was it? A dozen tables, and that was it. I mean,
No. I remember when I walked in because I didn't know what I had walked into. I literally did not understand what I had walked into. I thought it was like an auto show or something. But then I realized that there was this air of despair that it couldn't have been an auto show. Literally from the hallway, walking into the room. This emotional crushing sense hit me. And I was like, what is that? Where did all the joy of BotCon go? What just happened?
Yeah.
And then someone explained to me what it was. And I was like, okay, I'll walk around here.
And I just remember thinking, I need to leave. And I was so happy when I walked out. And I was like, no convention should make you feel like that.
I mean, we joke about that, but I mean, there are really some. Every fandom has bad examples. I mean, I've heard of some Star Wars people jerking stuff out of kids' hands. Like a kid had like a Boba Fett that had the half circle back when Power of the Force was out, and a guy came up and literally snatched it out of his hands and ran to the front to pay for it before he could be caught. Stuff like that. It's just this is supposed to be fun, and a lot of people are sucking a lot of the fun. Look at video games. Look at what video games is going through right now. I mean,
Amiibo?
No, Gamergate and all that crap.
No, that too, though. The Amiibos.
Well, the Amiibo thing.
What's the Gamergate?
Oh God!
Oh, please don't.
Don't ask.
And on our next podcast,
I'm just saying. I mean, if you're a video game fan, you can't enjoy being a video game fan right now because everywhere you go is so consumed with this issue, and it's like it's not fun anymore.
I guess the allegory in the analogy in Transformers world is every time, what I was saying before, you walk into a 3P discussion and it's all guys just saying, I like 3P because I hate Hasbro. Imagine if every time you open up a discussion about Transformers, that's where it went.
Yeah.
Video games have kind of gone there, which is why I listen to a Gamertag Radio, which is a gaming podcast. The only reason I listen to them is because they're so positive. All they ever do is just, they try to say, this is what's awesome about the game. And then if they don't like something, they'll say, but guys, this is just me. You should check it out. Redbox it or whatever and see if you like it. But I know where Don's going with this is there comes a point where a fandom actually can become detrimental to the product that they profess to love.
Well, toxic is the word that I keep hearing the most about. Basically this fandom has become toxic to anybody new anyone trying to enjoy it because you cannot enjoy what you're doing.
Not entirely. I mean,
it's difficult.
I get emails all the time. People thinking me, hey, RFC or whatever. I got them back into Transformers. They listen, like, oh, I like Transformers. I want to listen to a Transformers podcast. They found us. We try to be positive and upbeat. Sure. And if we go in the other direction, I try to very much bring us back into line. I mean, so it's not entirely toxic.
I think that was talking about games, Brian. But
no. Good job, Massey.
Also, it's the thing is, I'm okay with things that are not, like relentlessly positive. I prefer focusing on what's positive, but as long as the negative aspect is expressed with some level of thoughtfulness and, more thoughtfulness than ire is what I want to say.
Constructivity.
Yes. Constructive criticism where someone's actually sat down and thought about this and not just, the Hasbro thing. That
it's not buzzwords, it's like actual consideration. It's consideration and thought out opinions. It's not just buzzwords.
Yeah.
Well, going back to Chris's analysis of Devastator before, right? How many of these guys complaining do you think have given it that much thought?
Oh, 95% at least.
Minimum.
Right. All they see is that it doesn't measure up to, X, Y, and Z that's been on their shelf for 10 years, that was made in a different economy, and, all these other things.
And using their own measuring stick.
It doesn't have to be a 20-inch tall toy holding up, 2 pounds of plastic over it. That's all they're seeing. They're not thinking about the realities of it.
But I feel like, unrealistic expectations aside, I feel like it doesn't matter. Let's say every single one of those figures had a great hinge elbow. Let's get rid of the elbow issue altogether. Then they'd be focusing on Longhaul's fat thighs.
Yeah.
And then if you slimmed him down, then Bone Crusher's shovel wouldn't be big enough or something. There's always something, Yep.
And eventually you would come right back around to, Longhaul's thighs are thinner, which means Devastator has thin thighs now, and they wouldn't like that.
Right.
I like that he's a chunky bot. I don't know. I kind of like chunky bots.
Yeah, it goes with his personality.
Well, and like, to Ben's point a few minutes ago about not having imagination, like when I started looking at the pictures and thinking about this body shape, like this whole new picture of Longhaul entered my head where, like, think of the Blob or Juggernaut, where he is this big wide guy and his own thing in his head is, you cannot stop me. I am going to roll right through you no matter what you put in front of me, because I am a big badass dump truck.
Oh, I was
and-
sort of thinking like how he was in G1 where he was complaining all the time. So I just had him pictured as like the most depressed Constructicon, and he just binge eats all the time. That's why he's so big.
But
And the
I
other
mean,
Constructicons make fun of him endlessly.
And in both cases, though, like, we are taking elements that are familiar to us, but using our imagination and applying them in different ways to this thing that is presented to us differently than what we're used to. And that's something that a lot of people just won't do.
Yeah, they just won't use their imagination at all.
Or worse, their
Thank-
imagination creates something that realistically could never exist.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and that's unfortunately all too common.
And the going back to the Hasbro can't win syndrome.
Mhm.
When I started seeing people complaining, why are they Voyager classes? I wanted deluxes. I just realized at that point there was just no way these guys could win.
Mm-hmm.
And do you remember?
Why would
do you remember
Deluxe
there was
be
Orson's
better?
World? Wait, hang on, Diecast. I'm sorry, but Ben, do you remember Orson's World?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so Armada Skywarp was revealed, and somebody asked, "Well, can we get this without the new parts on it? Because we want it to match the other two." I mean, that's like the ultimate Hasbro can't win moment, because they went back and tooled these new parts onto this toy to make it different and unique.
And to their credit, they
I
did
didn't know
not
that.
facepalm on stage.
I
didn't even remember. I don't remember that.
I don't remember
Wow.
that.
I guess what were you gonna say?
I just don't understand why Deluxes would have been better for Devastator.
Yeah,
I mean,
I couldn't
Cheaper?
understand that.
Because
Well, no,
it's not a
because-
Voyager.
Brian, you
It's
might have
about-
been on
yeah.
this thread on Facebook. I love the way the thread went because Hoop actually jumped in. So the guy was saying, well, Bruticus and Devastator were the same size as in the original series, so therefore these new interpretations of these combiners should all be the same size. Because size-wise, it makes more sense to him. So he's obsessing about size, and then Hoop pointed out that he says, you realize that 4 of the members of the Combaticon team could all fit into Blastoff
Yeah.
if you wanted to focus on scale. So you're okay with a space shuttle becoming an arm and shrinking, but you're not okay with construction vehicles being larger than sports cars.
Hoop has done a lot of good work on these threads, pointing out logical inconsistencies like that.
That's because Hoop is a smart person.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I like the justification for the Voyager scale though, because they want internal consistency in the sizes between the Stunticons and the Constructicons within Combiner Wars, and I really dig that.
Plus, with them being Voyagers, you've got more mass to work with the transformations and to help distribute the weight out amongst the figures. Whereas Deluxes may not hold together as well because you're trying to compress too much stuff on too small of frames.
Oh, but it go two ways. If they had been announced as a 6-pack of Deluxes, then people would be complaining they should have been Voyagers.
Oh, yeah.
It would go either way.
Exactly right.
Can't win.
Because Hasbro can't win.
Right.
But now, Ben, was it? Now, I saw some snippets of. I think it was your interview where he was saying at one point they were looking at doing leaders.
Yeah, and you got to
It's
remember.
like-
I mean,
I'm just trying to imagine 6 leader class.
and literally, you got to picture like they have this. I've been up there. They have this really nice large conference room. It's like a little theater, and they'll put like a big whiteboard up, and they'll just start brainstorming. And I'm sure that's where that leader, quote came from. They were just brainstorming, saying, "What if leader?" And I'm sure that whole discussion may have been 15 minutes, but the fact that it was even considered is kind of cool because they were kind of throwing everything on the wall, literally. And then saying, okay, now realistically, what can we do? What makes the most sense? Which is
I'm
better
imagining.
than hearing, well, we wanted to make 6 Voyagers and that's it. Well, that's kind of a boring story.
I mean, I'm just happy that it wasn't because when the initial leaks started coming in, they were saying it was going to be,
a leader and 4 Voyagers.
Mhm.
5
Yeah,
figures
leader
total.
and 4 Voyager or something crazy, or it was going to be a lead. Yeah, and we're like, why? Why would it not be 6 figures?
Although,
So
like,
just the
if you
fact,
look at long haul being so much wider than the others, someone who's not super familiar with how Transformers work and break down, like, I could totally see mistaking that for a leader class toy.
yeah. I mean, honestly, what I expected is you know, 4 deluxe slims and then maybe a 2-pack of 2 deluxes that was about the same size as a
Sure.
Voyager to
Mhm.
make the wave fit, and that way they would be in scale with like the other Combiner Wars figures, maybe a tad bit taller just because of the 6-member, but kind of in that scale. I'm glad they did it as 6 Voyagers. I think that's much better than what I was anticipating them to do.
If they really wanted to just totally cheese everybody off, 1 leader, 1 Voyager, 1 deluxe, 1 legend, 1 step, and 1
No,
Titan.
And a masterpiece.
No. You want to know what would really piss off fans, and a very cruel part of me wishes they had done this at Toy Fair. So they get to the slide and they're like Devastator, and they show an outline of G1 Devastator, and then when the slide reveals itself, it's actually Revenge of the Fallen, Supreme Devastator, just in G1 colors. I would have screamed with laughter if that had happened.
Or almost as good, Micromaster Devastator.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, but that's a Toys R Us exclusive, right? So if you buy at Toys R Us, you get that for like $50 more. I mean, I would just, I've fallen out of my chair with laughter.
That would be awesome.
But yeah, look, I'm really happy with it. Is it perfect? No. But am I gonna? So I think Diecast, you said this before, right? You're gonna own every colored version of this thing.
Oh yeah,
and I know I am.
And that's the scary thing is if they do the G2 colors of San Diego exclusives, they're always so hard to get anyway. It's just, I mean, I don't know what I'm going to do because
you're gonna stalk Hasbro Toy Shop like the rest of us always do.
And it'll go up and be sold while I'm at work. And
Or you buy a regular one and you ship it to Cheats and you have him take care of business for you.
Which will cost about $1,000.
But that's okay.
No, like, I mean, I'm kind of lucky because if it comes down to it and I need it, I kind of have an in to get it directly from San Diego. But like, I understand what Don is saying, and like, if you gotta go through Hasbro Toy Shop, there is like, a 30-second window, sometimes literally a 30-second window where you can buy that. And if you're not there with everything working just right, you are not gonna. I remember the Comic-Con Bruticus a couple of years ago, when everybody was camping out every morning waiting for that. I was talking to JD over Skype or Google Messenger in the morning waiting for that to drop because like we were both going to try to get it on his behalf, like if one of us couldn't get through, and like we ended up missing it completely just because there for such a brief time, and our timing was not just it didn't work.
Well, I'm going to tell Ben the story, but y'all guys have heard it. When Ami, Ben, if you've ever heard of Ami out of Japan, they had the best price on the pre-order for the Solar Chigoku Galgaigar. I'm a huge Galgaigar fan. I'm a huge Brave fan in general. I was up at 2 a.m. our time. I had to be up at 6 for work. I was up at 2:30. The page was coming soon, not in Japanese time. And at 2:59 and 30 seconds, I refreshed my page. It took a second to refresh, and it was like 3:03 a.m. and like 3 or 4 seconds. Sold out. Literally in the 20 seconds it took for that page to refresh, it was sold out. And that was a $250 Solar Chigoku figure.
What this means is when SDCC Devastator comes out, and I think it's a foregone conclusion at this point.
Yeah.
If you manage to buy one, you cannot play the lottery for 6 months because you've used up all your luck. All your karma's gone for 6 months.
Unless they completely surprise us, and this is where we get our Metro Titan recolor at San Diego this year.
I will fall out of my chair with laughter if they do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they have satisfactorily, in their view, gotten their mileage out of the Metroplex mold, and are not interested in pushing that further. because they got 2 convention releases out of it. They got Hasbro Market, Takara Market. I mean, they got the mileage they need out of that mold, or we would have seen in their use of it by now.
And I hope the
it's
Collectors Club doesn't do it, because then, oh god, that'll be expensive.
No, I don't.
That's too much.
I don't even think the club would entertain that.
I mean, heck, they were trying to use back when Glenn was trying to use RID Optimus Prime as Defensor for 04, and that was a leader class figure technically. And it's like they couldn't even budget that in, even taking out the Prime's electronics. That's why we didn't get the Hotspot Defensor combo, which I still hope we get someday. I won't.
I think we've gotten some fairly decent hotspots. I don't think we need to go that route.
Well, you just don't.
We're getting a good hotspot.
Oh yeah, I love that hotspot. He looks great.
Until Combiner Hotspot
Like with
comes
that,
out, GDO Hotspot is awesome.
Yeah.
Oh yep.
Yeah, he is.
like
There he is.
with Combiner Wars Hotspot, this has been relegated. If I ever get BotCon Pyro, the heads coming off of this is getting painted blue and going on Pyro to finish off that thing. Because, I like this mold well enough, but the Combiner Wars Hotspot is so much beyond it in terms of being the character. And, that's got that faceplate head that Pyro needed in the first place, but didn't budget into the tooling. So, I will have a headless blue Inferno body at some point in the future. It's just the way it goes with this. New stuff comes out, the old stuff becomes irrelevant, and you can't sell it anymore.
Yeah.
Well, we talked a couple months ago how when Classics Prowl came out, when the Classics first came, we thought, this is as good as it's going to get. This is the best update of Prowl we are ever going to get. Now we have
And even at the
Masterpiece
time, we
Prowl.
didn't think it was that good.
Yeah.
Well, when we saw it in car mode in the package, we thought this was as good as it's going to get, But now
It
we
even
have.
looked okay in robot mode. It's just getting between.
So I mean,
It's just all that stuff you got to do to get it into the other one.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, and it's
find the
that's-
doors.
it's a case study of the whole problem with Transformers in that time frame where us as experienced, educated, fine motor control having collectors cannot or do not want to transform these any more than we absolutely have to. No kid is going to be able to accomplish this on their own, nor will they have the desire to after they try for 15 minutes and haven't even gotten halfway.
I found the first 2 War for Cybertron Deluxes absolutely torturous. They were horrible.
Wait, which ones?
Prime and Bumblebee?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. Well, actually, Bumblebee, okay, annoying, but Prime,
Yeah.
just mind-boggling.
I mean,
To get all the panels to Prime was horrendous, but even with me for Bumblebee, if I sat there and transformed it 3 times in a row, I could get down to where it took me 5-10 minutes, and then I'd put it in a drawer because I was sick of it and forget about it again, and 6 months later I'd take it out and have to learn it all over again. This is not a worthwhile use of my time.
So Prime actually made me feel dumb.
When your toys, it's like Revenge of the Fallen Prime. It took me forever to get him into vehicle mode because I just could not get everything. It's like Star Wars Transformers Vader. You get 1 panel in Death Star mode, 3 more pop out. You put those panels in, the panels you just had pops out.
I'm sure I don't know what you're talking about. my all line up perfectly. I have had no problems with those thruster pieces. No. Actually, that War for Cybertron op, the first deluxe one, I got to tell you, I appreciate kind of the genius engineering that went into it because I can't even imagine creating something like that.
Oh yeah.
But I will tell you, I am not fond of transforming it. And when I was doing my review, I think because I like to provide not the official instructions, but my own kind of from experience instructions. I think he had 21 transformation steps.
Sounds about right.
I mean, for a deluxe, that's a little crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I swear if he had any more tabs on him, he'd be a can of soda.
Just to
But
back
cans
up
of soda only have 1 tab.
just to back up what Don was saying about the Revenge of the Fallen Optimus Prime, I have the Voyager version, and the worst part is that if it were not for Hey Mickey on Twitter and XV Show Superhero Time, I would not know how to transform it because there is an entire step that the official instructions leave out.
But why would you need that? It just
I mean, it never mentions that you can tilt the whole back so that you can actually get the head out without knocking it off and then fishing it out of the torso.
Well, you didn't
From
just intuit that?
2008 From 2008 into 2011, Transformers were at like a high point of being little marvels of engineering that I really appreciate, because I am totally into like engineering concepts, complexity in design. Like, I see it as kind of an art when it's done really well. But at the same time, that's way too much work to do for a toy to go between the two modes it's supposed to have. They were incredibly impressive. They were not fun.
And on top of that, when your instruction manuals, and I've been saying this for years, and I've mentioned it in various forums, Hasbro is still now Combining Wars is a little bit different. I haven't had any problems so far, but the instruction manuals have got to be better because they just don't. I use reviews. I use PL, Optobotomus, whoever does a review that I can follow the steps, Vangelis, everybody, Diecast too, just because everyone does it a little bit differently. And if I'm in a snafu area where I cannot get a part and the instructions don't help me, I have to look online. Why is Hasbro not doing online instructions?
Third-party instructions are great. I mean, Hasbro hates us, so I mean, you just gotta remember that.
Well, I mean, I've said on here NTFYLP, if any third-party people listen to us, guys, hire someone who speaks English.
Snap!
Or something that to proofread your instruction manual.
But if they don't speak English, how are they listening to your podcast?
That's racist.
Yes.
I absolutely love the comics we were getting with the Warbitron series of figures, and they only did about 3 of them, or maybe 2 of them, and they stopped. But they were great because the translations
were hilarious.
They were hilarious, and I really wish they kept doing them. But I think fans were ragging on them so bad because it was, the translations were so bad that they stopped doing them, or maybe it was just a cost thing.
Well, that's what you get when you go to English.com and just copy and paste.
Yeah. I didn't want to say that. I didn't want to say that.
Well, Ben, I wasn't trying to be racist. I'm just saying if
I know, Don, I'm messing with you.
Yeah, I'm just saying if
joke, Don.
I know. If you have someone in your group that does speak English fluently, have them proofread your stuff before it goes to print. Just because you can't follow half these things. You have to use YouTube reviewers.
Are we talking about 3P or official now?
Oh, well, both to some degree. I mean, Hasbro less now, with Combining Wars being a little more simplistic and a little more intuitive.
Yeah.
But still, up until the last couple of years, it's like Prime. He was by no means the most difficult toy, but there are some areas in which the stuff just does not fold together right, and the instructions are like, where is this going?
Yeah, I mean, just to go back to the War for Cybertron example for a minute, when the Fall of Cybertron toys came out, on one level, I did feel kind of bad because that was when the price hike came up and the toys had very obviously gotten a little bit smaller. You feel like you're paying more for less, but at the same time, I transformed it without reading the instructions on the first try.
Awesome.
And I enjoyed it more as a toy.
Yes.
Yeah. Hey guys, I hate to do this, but I'm about to crash.
Okay.
So I'm gonna.
I understand.
He didn't drink enough soda.
I didn't drink enough soda, and I've got to get up in like 5 hours.
Need more
Yeah.
cheering.
I've got to get up and try to get to work because the roads are clear, but getting out of the apartment is going to be a little fun.
Yeah.